Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Yo, this is Rich Latta here. We are across the street from MSG.
NY, baby. New York City, Madison Square Garden. Hey, y'all boy, come on.
Come on. Man, Jeremy Donovan here from Keepin It Strong Style and Social Suplex. We're here with one half of the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions.
Hey, one half of Gorillas of Destiny, but one whole of Tama motherfucking Tonga, realest of the realest. Hey, ain't nobody realer than Gorilla.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here, joined by the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be reviewing both nights of Wrestling Dontaku, answering your questions, and of course, we will cover all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns at socialsuplex.com. Go to socialsuplex.com/subscribe to sign up to get all of our podcasts and columns delivered directly to your email inbox. This episode of Keeping It Strong Style is brought to you by Powerslam.tv. Powerslam TV is an independent wrestling streaming service with over 4,000 hours of wrestling from companies across the world. Use the promo code SOCIALSUPLEX to get your first month free of that service. Also, make sure you check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, ProWrestlingTees.com/SocialSuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt as well as other t-shirts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. All right, young boy, it's our 75th episode of Keeping It Strong Style. We're a year and a half into this thing, man.
It's bullshit. Like, literally, when you signed me to my exclusive contract with Keeping It Strong Style and the Social Suplex Podcast Network, there were great promises of reward. You told me that I was going to have fame. You told me that I was going to get paid a fortune. You said that there would be rats involved. None of that has come through. What's the deal?
Well, you know, I don't always write the contracts up. You know, Rich has had his hand writing some of those contracts up. I think maybe he overpromised some things on your deal. Rich is part head of talent relations.
RLS, Rich Latta Shyster.
Oh man, but yeah, man, trying to get all of us over here. You know,
you're trying to get us paid?
Yeah, I'm trying to get everybody paid.
You got a plan in place? Because, dude, we give so much benefit and so much great content to all of our fans for free, no paywall. We give you guys these shirt gimmicks. We give you guys this awesome free month of independent wrestling. We give you the hottest takes in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And what about me? What about the young boy? That's what I want to know. No, but seriously, this has been so freaking awesome. It's crazy, man. 75 episodes in. We've been doing this, over a year.
Yeah, we're like a year and a half almost.
Yep. Man, time is flying by, and thank you guys for listening. If you're a new listener and this is your first time listening, thank you. For those of you that have been sticking with us, we appreciate, the support. But definitely go give us a rating and review and buy our shirts and buy our merch and
help us get over.
Help us get over like the Young Bucks. You know what I'm saying?
But, speaking of Social Suplex contracts, we do have some Social Suplex business to take care of at the start of this show. So we have a new member joining the Social Suplex crew.
Are they a real member? Are they getting a shirt?
Yeah, I do want to get this person a shirt. This is somebody who was on this show, Amy Euler, better known as @PhoenixNJPW on Twitter. She's a part of the Social Suplex team. She will be appearing on All Things Elite. That's our AEW podcast hosted by Floyd Johnson Jr. Right now, she will be appearing on that show every other week. Amy has a lot of other commitments, and hopefully in the future we can get to do more of her. I'm also talking with her about getting some writing done on the website as well. But yeah, last week was her first episode with Floyd. They had great chemistry and they killed it. So go out and check out last week's All Things Elite to hear Amy and Floyd. It's just...
let me tell you something. That decision was not ran by me. And here's my problem with it. Why does Floyd get Amy? Why don't we have Amy on this program? That's what I want to know. She could literally be one of the Three Musketeers, of Keepin' It Strong Style.
Yeah, we could turn this into another 6-man show. But Floyd, he's been doing the rotating host. Actually, Floyd's been building like a little elite stable for his podcast between him. He now has Amy, Dave, Tiffany, and Issa. Floyd has a little power team growing down there, man.
We both done little spot shows, little excursion shows on All Things Elite.
Yeah, we have.
And I love that show. It's in a way it feels kind of like a baby to me. So I'm so glad to see it kind of like taking off. And it was just this idea that was kind of born out of nothing, and then now like we've got these incredible individuals who were not part of our podcast network that we admired from afar, and now they're both part of it, part of the Social Suplex family. So yeah, I'm really excited. And I gotta say, you literally cannot have a more positive two people doing a wrestling podcast.
Yeah, as I was talking to Floyd about this, and he was telling me, how well the recording went, and I was like, dude, I can't wait to listen. I was like, this is going to be the most positive podcast on the internet.
Yeah, the power of positivity.
Yes.
Who used to say that?
That's New Day.
Oh, that's New Day, yeah. See, I don't even watch the show. I just, I can't remember, who said that. But, yeah, man, they, for all you jaded wrestling fans and people who are tired of hearing the negative takes and all the, negative talk that just floods the airwaves and all these different podcasts and all the Twitterverse and all the different wrestling groups, there are not two more positive people than Floyd Johnson and Amy Euler. So, yeah, they're going to do a great job, and glad to have her on.
Yeah, glad to have her on board. And hoping we'll get some more stuff from her in the future. So.
Better than Rich.
Oh, man. All right, so...
this is Jeremy Donovan's Social Suplex.
Oh, man. So, let's, get to business here, because we have a lot to cover. There are a lot of questions, a lot of first-time question askers here. And so I want to make sure...
Question askers?
Yeah, questionnaires. I want to make sure we have time to answer everybody's question, give you a full review of both nights of Wrestling Dontaku, and cover the news.
We always have enough time. You know why? Because we own the network. And we can go as long as we want.
Oh, man.
We booked this shit.
All right, so let's start with Wrestling Dontaku Night 1. So action kicked off here at the Fukuoka Convention Center. We had Tomioka Hanma, Shota Umino, and Ren Narita defeating the team of Toa Hanare, Yota Tsuji, and Yuya Uemura. What do you think about this one?
I thought that this was a pretty good open. I really dug a lot of the energy. I mean, we talk about it all the time. I mean, the Young Lions being in the opening act. I mean, when was the last time you saw a bad Young Lion match?
Right. I mean, these guys, like we mentioned all the time, they go out there and, they're just kill it, man. They're trying to show that they're, ready to go on excursion. They're ready to, move on to the next stages, and they're always going out there. I feel like they're always trying to one up each other in their performances, which is always great. And like any Young Lion match, this was a great solid opener here. Yeah, solid 3-star affair. Everybody looked great here, especially Umino, Narita, Tsuji, and Yumura. In this match, we kind of saw something similar in previous matches where Tsuji was kind of the Ricky Morton, the face in peril, being in peril as they kind of worked him over. That's kind of and it's always kind of strange to me to see that, just the fact that he's like the largest of the Young Lions right now, but he is junior to Umino and Narita, so it does make sense, but it's funny to see him in that role and not so much Yumura. But I gotta tell you, Tsuji is great at selling. Yeah. He's great. And we mentioned this before, either last week or a couple weeks ago. I think it's great that regardless of size, they put you in different scenarios, and I think it's great that they're working on Tsuji's selling now, so by the time he goes on excursion and gets his gimmick, he's going to be a great seller, and it's going to help him just be a better wrestler overall. Now, not to spend too much time on this, because I will tell you, even though I thought this was very solid, it wasn't blow away by any means or a super memorable opener. There was a couple things I liked, but what are your thoughts, and we talk about it pretty often, but what are your thoughts on Hanma and Hinare in this matchup? And just, I guess, their place in New Japan right now. Yeah, so start with Hanma. Since returning from the neck injury, I feel like, he's pretty much like New Japan dad status, pretty much. He's been, he's always in these opening matches or, mid-card matches, teaming with Young Lions, or he's teaming with, Taguchi Japan or Sekigun guys. Not really. I mean, he kind of does his spots. He gets the Kokeshi spots in. Yeah. They usually get the heat on him, and, I think he's serving that role perfectly fine. I will say, I know that when you were watching New Japan when Hanma was around, but you weren't watching it as as fervently or as religiously as you do now. So I know your exposure to him pre-injury is a little more limited, I'd say, right? Yeah, very limited. Honestly, I don't think I've really seen a solid Hanma match. You need to watch. What you need to watch is Hanma versus Ishii, which obviously is no surprise, but yeah, their match is insane. But there was a time where Hanma was literally one of the most over acts in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it is Hanma Mania was a real thing, and he would go through these G1s and get nothing but losses. He was the perennial loser, but every match was fantastic. Very similar to Nagata's run through the G1 a couple years ago, except for Hanma was obviously Hanma's a deathmatch guy. A lot of people don't know that, but Hanma comes from the deathmatch circuit. I mean, just look at his forehead. Yeah, that's his background. And a lot of his indie stuff. It took him forever to get signed into New Japan and to become a full-time member and all that sort of stuff. And then, his injury came right at the tail end of his best run of his career. And obviously he's never going to be what he was before. But I will say this. Since he's returned, there was a time where every episode we were talking about how scared we were, how terrible he was looking. And he is a shell of what he was before, and he'll probably never be that again. But I don't feel as fearful watching him. You can definitely tell that there's been marked improvement and strides in his wrestling ability since returning, which is a good thing. Yeah, the only one thing that still kind of bothers / worries me is when he misses the Kokeshi, whether it be just standing, flying, or off the top rope. It's you're coming back from a neck injury. I think the last thing you want to do is headbutt maneuvers, diving headbutts. So anytime he does it and misses, that still kind of worries me. But besides that, I think he has been looking better. There was a time on this show where we were talking about how he shouldn't be in the ring. He was looking dangerous, looking unsafe, clearly having issues with his arms, and a lot of that seems to have gone by the wayside. I don't know how much longer he can keep this up, but the fact that he was able to come back from such a career-threatening injury and then to still be able to do what he enjoys and loves and entertain the fans, that's an awesome thing. Let's move on. Let's talk about Hinare, man. So we're over
a year and a half from we started this podcast right around the time when Hanare ended. Well, we started with World Tag League.
Yeah, World Tag League 2017.
So he had just returned. He was still a young lion, and then starting at the New Japan Rambo, he came in with the gimmick. And then about 6 months in, he started, this huge feud, this undercard feud with Ishii, and it looked like he was poised and pressed to be pushed, to some degree. But since, I would say, it really became prominent around World Tag League this year, that he wasn't going to be getting pushed and there was nothing for him, and he was trying to work his way into these storylines where he was going to be the new member of Great Bash Heel and try to reform that with Makabe, and that never came about. And it's starting to feel like in these Young Lions matches that he is getting passed up by the likes of Umino and Narita, and I would say even Tsuji and Yamura. It kind of feels like they're surpassing him in terms of wrestling ability, star power, and they haven't even gone on excursion or anything yet.
Right. Yeah, Hanare, he's kind of been in a standstill since the Ishii feud. Like you mentioned,
he did have the C Block stuff with
David Finlay.
But that really never went anywhere either.
Yeah, that was kind of something like you mentioned they kind of did on their own, get themselves over.
They had him jobbed to Trent.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I really think Hanare, he needs an excursion. They never did an excursion with him. I think he needs to go away. He needs to go somewhere else, pick up a different style, a new gimmick, and then come back completely made over.
I know not everybody can be a top guy. That's impossible. Mm-hmm. Everybody has their role. And, you look at a guy like, say, Ishii. We were discussing this in the group chat today, and it took him years before they put him into a prominent role, which might have even been short-sighted with how great Ishii is. Mm-hmm. But it seemed to be that the company was really behind Hanare a year ago. They were pushing him and getting him prepared for something, and for something just seems to not be clicking or not be connecting. He seems less over with the crowd, less over in his. I don't know if it's just the booking or if it's actually him.
Right. I think he's a solid worker. When he's in the ring, he looks good.
But he looked better before, don't you feel like?
Yeah. I feel like he had more fire.
He had more fire. Do you feel like maybe injury or maybe he's gotten discouraged? I don't know what it is.
Right. He's been kind of slotted in these opening matches, often against Young Lions, or he's teaming with Hanma or teaming with Makabe. The Ishii stuff was his highest profile thing that he's really done.
Yeah.
So maybe he is discouraged. Maybe he doesn't feel like going all out if he's going to be, 8 minutes, 9 minutes in with Young Lions. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was worth discussing. So we'll move on to the finish here. But the team of Tomoyoki, Hanma, Umino, and Narita end up defeating Hanare, Tsuji, and Yuya Uemura. Towards the end, it ended up being Uemura and Narita in the ring together. There was a really incredible sequence of moves where Yuya Uemura wound up with a Fujiwara armbar, and Narita kept trying to roll out of it, and Uemura kept cranking on it.
Yeah.
And really creating the perception that he might be able to get an upset submission victory over, the senior Narita. Mm-hmm. But it wound up not happening. Match ended up breaking down, and Narita hit the overhead bridging suplex for the 1-2-3. Good opener, lots of good energy down the stretch. Exactly what you'd expect from the Young Lions and this group of guys.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, I'm really loving Narita's bridging belly-to-belly suplex. A lot of finishers in pro wrestling in general and in New Japan, usually there's some kind of setup or, some kind of...
His comes from out of nowhere.
Yes, yeah, literally, RKO, out of nowhere, belly to belly, out of nowhere, and it's just awesome. It comes out of nowhere,
I agree.
Boom, hits it, and then it's over, and it's awesome.
I think it's my favorite Young Lion finisher in the past few years. I like it better than... who was the jacked guy? How did I forget his name?
Wow, I'm blanking on his name. Kitamura.
Kitamura. I like it better than Kitamura's jackhammer. I like it better than the Trouble in Paradise that Kawada was using for a while there. I like it better than the jump.
The fisherman.
I like it better than the fisherman that Umino uses, and I like it better than the Oka was using that jumping up and down Boston Crab for a while, and I like it better than that. I think it's one of the most impressive moves in New Japan right now, actually.
Yeah.
Very few guys could do what he's doing. It's awesome.
And we have a question here about Narita.
Nice.
From Reddit user Jesus Las Vegas. He says
that's Jesus Las Vegas. Get it right.
He says, where do you see Ren Narita's future? Too tall for a New Japan Junior and too skinny for a heavyweight. Maybe as a heel version of Yano.
Well, there's these things called steroids. Oh man, when I was in New York last month and we were at the GCW show, Phil Baroni, the New York Badass, he had the opening match of the Bloodsport show, and he got on the mic and he was like, "I'd like to thank my official sponsors, steroids." And I was like, this fool. But I actually don't think he's too big to be a junior, and I don't think he's too small to be a heavyweight either. I would imagine, just personally, they'll probably start him out as a junior, but they could go either way.
I feel with his current build, he would definitely start off in the junior division. And you say, too tall. I mean, later on we'll talk about El Phantasmo. He's a pretty tall dude. Osprey's kind of tall for a junior.
Is Narita that tall?
I don't even know. I feel like because he's so skinny, he probably looks a little bit lankier.
He definitely is. I'm looking it up. This is why we need a producer. He's only 6 foot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's shorter than me, and I feel like I could be a junior. I feel like I'd be a fantastic junior.
But yeah, I definitely see him at the junior role. I don't see him being a heel Yano. Honestly, I could see him being in Suzuki-gun.
Bro,
and being a dastardly heel.
When I look at his face, he reminds me a lot of Taichi. The way Taichi looked when he was a young lion, very similar. Like, he just kind of has that face that you want to punch.
Yeah.
To
me, sometimes some of his expressions remind me of Suzuki.
That's true too.
When he gets fired up and gets angry, he kind of does look like a younger Minoru Suzuki.
Oh, speaking of which, shout out to friend of the show, Zach Porter. What up, Zach? I know you're listening. He blessed me recently with Pancrase 95 Eyes of the Beast Tour shirt for Minoru Suzuki. I was definitely sporting that at work. Felt kind of weird to have a half-naked man on my t-shirt. Like, I wouldn't feel weird in normal life, but then I was walking around, like, I work in a very professional setting, and I'm walking around with Minoru Suzuki on my shirt. Luckily, it's Minoru Suzuki, so nobody from work is going to say anything about it. They don't want the smoke. They don't want it. I will gotcha pile drive them with no hesitation. But one thing, to speak to this question, and then we'll move on, when Evil... when he was Watanabe, and when he was actually pretty small before he came back, and when they sent him overseas, they said gain weight, and he was barely used in All Japan or in All Jersey Pro. He was barely used in ROH. Like, he didn't do much on his excursion at all. But what was this guy doing? He was getting jacked. He was getting ripped. Vascular. He's huge. Yeah, he was building size, and that was they thought that he had the frame, which evidently so. Look at him now, and when he came back, he looked like an entirely different person. So there is a precedent where they could be asking him to do that. So, but I do see him as being a heel. Like, he does not have the face of a lovable, baby face or Technico. Let's just say he's not, Rick Steamboat. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next match. We have Minoru Suzuki, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, El Desperado, and Taka Michinoku defeating the team of Jushin Thunder Liger, Yoshihashi, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Tiger Mask.
Should we make a joke about our surprise that Suzuki-gun attacked before the bell, or should we just keep it a buck here?
I mean, Kevin Kelly always does his little gimmick with Hanma every time. So
what does he say?
When Hanma pulls the hat off, he's like, "Hey, it's Hanma!" Literally every single time, every Road to show, every show since Hanma's been wearing the little hat gimmick, he pulls it off. Hey, it's Hanma. So
that's funny. I didn't know that.
So we can do our, surprise Suzuki-gun attacked before the bell.
No, I'm gonna actually do a gimmick this week where I treat you like you're stupid and be like, "Come on, they do this every single match, Jeremy. You didn't know they were gonna do this. Pay attention." We need to have more of a Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon like element, and then you need to correct me a lot and just be like,
well, I mean, we already have a face heel alignment going.
Who, if you could be any like face play-by-play guy, who would you be? Who's your favorite?
Man, that's hard. That's tough. Man, I mean, you got good old JR.
All time. Who's the best for you? Who do you like?
Oh, man, that's a tough question, man. I don't know if I have the answer to that right now.
Oh man, come on, bro. Inquiring minds want to know.
Dude, I love JR when he's in his prime. I loved Professor Mike Tenay.
I like Tony Schiavone, and that's a kind of a controversial thing because he put out a lot of bullcrap during his Nitro years. But
yeah, Tony, I was never a huge Tony Schiavone guy.
I kind of think Kevin Kelly is getting up there as being one of the all-time greats.
Dude, you know who is the all-time great right now? That's Jim Cornette.
Jim Cornette is so great.
I hate the sidetrack, but yeah, I've been watching MLW. He's been on the commentary lately, and also I watched the Crockett Cup this weekend. He was on the commentary for that, and he was fantastic.
How was the Crockett Cup, by the way?
It was good. It was a solid show. I would definitely recommend going out of the way to watch it. If you have Honor Club, it's on the Honor Club.
I gotta tell you, like, growing up, I had the cassette tape, which is worth a bunch of, actually it's a double cassette tape collection. It's worth a bunch of money now, and I lost it, and I'm kicking myself. But it was like the holy grail for tape traders and collectors. It was the best of Starrcade, 83 to 87, and they used the exact same era matting for the Crockett Cup, the classic blue mat with the yellow, just simple NWA right in the middle.
And then they had the retro Ring of Honor logo on the side apron.
Which is so much better than any logo they've ever had before. Yeah, I loved the presentation. I liked the scoreboard in the back. That or whatever you want to call it.
The Titantron?
The Titantron in the back. But I think it was hyperimposed on a scoreboard. It looked awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, overall solid show. The main event, Aldis and Skrull, was a great match. Nick Aldis, I've never really been a fan of his, but he's been coming through in all these big main events. All In with Cody, the rematch of Cody's 70th anniversary. Now this match with Marty Skrull. They had Juice. They had technical wrestling.
You know how I feel,
dude.
about the Cody Aldis match.
I feel like you would really have loved this Crockett Cup show. I mean, with the presentation, the matches, Magnum TA, Tully Blanchard, Medusa, they just had a lot of great past and present. It was a solid show.
Remember when I made you watch Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard?
Yeah.
You don't like that match?
Wait, the one where it's
it's the steel cage I quit match from Starrcade 85. It's like a top 5.
Okay, I'll think about another match.
It's like a top 5 80s match of all time.
Yeah, that was a solid match.
But let's move on. So anyways, this match was fine. I think, obviously, we've been talking about it, all throughout the Dontaku tour. The Liger-Suzuki pairing, the feud between these two guys, the heat between them, going back to their match in Pancrase in the early 2000s. And they've continued to build that throughout this match. It took a while for them to kind of face off, and when they finally did, the crowd was so hot for it.
Yeah, Suzuki got Liger into a cross arm breaker, and Liger got to the ropes, but the ref had to pull Suzuki off. Like, he did not want to let go of the arm breaker.
He attacked the arm almost exclusively all throughout the match. It seems that he's found a vulnerability and a target, and he's looking to expose that. He also continued towards the end of the match to expose that arm and to attack it on the outside and wrenching on it while it was over a guardrail and just being super nasty and being, exactly, who Minoru Suzuki is at all times.
But I think the biggest news is the finish of this match. Taka, he pinned Tiger Mask with the Michinoku driver.
Yes.
It's the first time I've seen Taka get a win in a long time.
And I can't remember the last time I saw him do a Michinoku driver. And all I got to say is infidelity pays. You know what I'm saying?
He's going to be in Best of Super Junior, so...
That's what this is about.
Yeah, they're trying to heat him up, make him look credible going into that tournament. And
you know what that indicates to me, though?
What's that?
He got a win here. That means he might get that old man run. He might get
the Tiger Mask run last year.
The Tiger Mask run. He might get a little bit of a early start here. So for those of you who will be joining us in the Keepin' It Strong Style Best of the Super Juniors Pick'em contest, which we do annually, keep that in mind.
Yeah,
I'm throwing you a little.
Speaking of the contest, I think I found an even easier way to manage that thing and the calculations and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that.
We're all about efficiency and ease of use when it comes to these things, because y'all be sending a lot of brackets in. But yeah, this match ended like we mentioned with the Michinoku driver. Taka picks up the win here, and after the match, Suzuki continued to wrench on Liger's arm, and all the guys from Suzuki-gun continued to attack Tiger Mask until, his partners came in and make the save. Afterwards, on the outside, Suzuki began to attack Shota Umino, put him into a Kimura, and as they were leaving, Liger was walking up the ramp, and Suzuki grabs a chair from the audience, then Liger grabs a chair, and then
they're like facing off with the chairs, yeah,
and it was pretty heated. Nothing really came of it, but so it does seem to be that we're going to continue with this somewhere down the line. I'm just still wondering when we're going to get the payoff, basically.
Yeah. Possibly Best of Super Junior Finals, June 5th.
That would be a fitting place for Liger to have a big career match on what is his retirement tour. So that would make a lot of sense to me. That's definitely a show that could be bolstered. Also, Dominion is another possibility.
True. So next we had the team of Will Ospreay, Togi Makabe, and Toru Yano defeating the team of Tamatonga, Tangaloa, and Hikuleo, the Sons of Haku.
And we are 1 year removed from the debut of the Bullet Club kimonos, which means we are 1 year removed from the inception of our joke about getting these young boy kimonos.
Yeah.
Where are my young boy kimonos? That's another promise that you made to me, Jeremy, and they still as of yet been they are not been delivered on.
Pro Wrestling Tees, they don't carry kimonos right now. I'll put in a word with Ryan, see if we can make something work.
Whatever
out.
It takes, whatever has to happen. We're gonna get, even if it's just me. I want to walk around this apartment, walk around this dojo with my kimono.
But yeah,
Can you just see me walking around with a kimono and a kendo stick and just like being a G?
Actually, I think I can. All the members of Bullet Club were rocking the kimono, celebrating the birth of the Bullet Club. All the members, including guest commentary, Juicy Gino Gambino. Actually, our boy Sir Sam from LOP tweeted out a picture of Gambino in the Bullet Club kimono and say, "Young boy, the proof is right there."
I'm not on that gimmick.
I know, that's why I'm bringing it up right now.
Oh my gosh, Sir Sam, you don't know anything. Is Sir Sam in the Ricky and Clive Invitational Tournament? I believe he is.
I think he is.
We'll be meeting down the line, sir. But actually, fun fact. A lot of people talk about May 3rd being the birth of the Bullet Club. How many years ago? 6 years ago? 2013?
Yeah.
Okay. One thing many people don't know, on the same date, Suzuki-gun was born. But that's a little less celebrated. We don't get these Suzuki-gun kimonos. These guys are all about the business, all about the fight, all about getting paid. They don't have to celebrate themselves by buying froofy little kimonos every time they have an anniversary, but they're in all seriousness, their kimonos are kind of dope. I kind of want one.
Yeah.
They really need to sell those.
I'm surprised they haven't yet.
I'm surprised too. That's because they don't have the Young Bucks and Cody in them.
The merch machines.
Well, those guys are just. It's a t-shirt company at this point. What? But we've spent a lot of time talking about this because this match was really almost nothing.
Yeah, nothing special here. If you've been watching the Road 2s and Wrestling Hinokuni, pretty much the same stuff you've seen in the Never 6-Man title match and the tag title match. The highlight in this match was Will Ospreay, obviously. He makes all these guys look great. And
Are Yano and Makabe the Never 6-Man champions right now, or is it Tamatonga and Tangaloa?
No, Makabe, Yano, and Taguchi, they successfully defended against Sons of Haku.
You can see how much I keep up with that
Never
that
6-Man.
lineage. But I will say, and we brought it up last week. We've been talking about it, and I think it's worth mentioning. Hikuleo is looking really, really good, looking very improved, and continues to impress. The star of this match obviously was Will Ospreay. He was the guy that, just continued to impress, as he's done all year here, and he was phenomenal in this match.
Yeah, he got the Oz Cutter on Hikuleo to get the win for his team.
Yep.
So next up, we had the team of Kota Ibushi, Sho, and Yo defeating the team of Tetsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, and Bushi.
Yeah, this match was very good. We've seen this. Have we seen this exact same matchup already on this tour or no? I feel like we have.
I'm pretty sure we have.
The story of this match, though, was essentially Sho and Yo and Bushi and Shingo. Mm-hmm. Naito and Ibushi were definitely there, and they continued to build to their upcoming singles match, but they didn't have a lot of interaction or a lot of time spent in the ring here. Most of the work was carried by Shoyo and Bushi and Shingo, although we did get a very interesting interaction between Ibushi and Shingo on this match.
Sign me up for Shingo as a heavyweight. I need Shingo versus Ibushi. I need Shingo versus Ospreay, Shingo versus Ishii, Shingo versus Sonata, Shingo versus the world. Dude, Shingo, when he's in there, man, I know we've been saying it every week now, but he just dominates. He wrecks these dudes. Like, I want to see this guy push to the moon.
Now that you're much more familiar with Shingo, does anything about this past year make you want to go back and watch his Champions Carnival run last year?
Yes, I want to watch Champions Carnival. I want to watch Bola, all his PWG stuff. Like, any Shingo I can get my hands on now, like, I want to see.
There's a Bryan Danielson Shingo match out there.
There is. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's great. And also, him and I believe he's wrestled Roderick Strong, and I think him and Johnny Gargano
I'm a big Roddy mark, so I got my hands on that one too.
Him and Gargano have a match from Dragon Gate USA. Like, yeah, there's a whole phase of his career. I mean,
Dragon Gate USA can use the my Evolve gimmick.
You're still paying for that?
Yeah.
Oh my god. But let me ask you this, okay? If you had to make a choice, and this is there's no in between. Mm-hmm. Only one of these guys can be in the G1 this year. Shingo or Will Ospreay? What are you gonna?
Dude, that's dirty, man.
What would you do? Who are you taking?
Bro, that's dirty.
You're only one's allowed to be in it, and let's not talk about like real world, because we know obviously Will Ospreay is going to be in the G1, but just talking from a fan perspective and match, the perspective matchups, who would you rather see in a G1, Shingo or Will Ospreay?
Man, that's very tough, man. But I think I'll have to go Shingo.
Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. That's great. But yeah, this match was very, very good. It's another iteration of the match that we've seen in one form or another all throughout this tour, but it continued to deliver. But ultimately, we get the win here. Bushi comes in with a missile drop kick and a DDT for 2 on Sho. Yo cuts him off with the dragon screw. Ibushi tags in, runs wild. He hits the power slam and a moonsault for 2. Naito comes in and makes the save, but Ibushi hits the double Pele. Bushi and Ibushi are battling back and forth, and Ibushi hits Bushi with a Bamaye knee and a Kamigoye to finish this match.
Yeah, he wrecked Bushi with that knee.
He laid it in a little bit harder than he normally would. Something about Bushi makes people want to lay their stuff in a little bit more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But this match, the interactions with Sho and Shingo were great. Between Ibushi and Naito were great. Really looking forward to seeing the eventual Sho and Shingo one-on-one matchup.
I'm still looking forward to Ibushi and Naito. And post-match, Ibushi tries to say he wants to make the title match with Naito official, and Naito teases him and says tomorrow, and then leaves.
Yeah. So that brings us to the next match. The IWGP US Champion Juice Robinson teaming up with Hiroki Goto and Mad Mikey Nichols to defeat the Bullet Club team of Switchblade, Jay White, the Rogue General, Bad Luck Fale, and
the Crown Jewel, Chase
Owens.
Yeah, so Gato came out with the Bullet Club, and this match was fine. It was a solid tag match. It was kind of nice to see the faces get some comeuppance here and get a little bit of a win. especially considering that Jay White had beaten Goto on this tour. But ultimately, it was kind of an unmemorable affair.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much kind of wrapped the bow on the Juice Chase Owens rivalry. Juice hit Owens with the Pulp Friction to get the win for his team. But the biggest story here is what happened after the match. We got a teaser video for a wrestler that seems to have his eyes set on Juice Robinson and potentially the IWGP US Championship. The video says he will be debuting on June 5th, which is the best of the Super Junior finals at Sumo Hall. You know, a lot of rumors going around who this potentially could be. All signs are kind of pointing to Chris Brooks from Rev Pro. And if you watch the promo video, the guy in the bar has a British flag on his leather jacket.
A Union Jack, mate.
Mm-hmm. And also some of the wording and graphics were similar to a Chris Brooks t-shirt. And, you know, it's just by coincidence that same day they uploaded the Chris Brooks match from Rev Pro, the whole Rev Pro show actually from New York.
I saw that, which that means that you get to relive what I lived live and in person.
Yeah.
I thought this video package was very well produced. I thought it was cool. Whoever this mystery man is, he was carrying a knife, but the knife had a spiked knuckle handle, so he can do damage. He can punch you with the spikes. He can cut you. So apparently he's a knife pervert too.
Yeah,
just like good old Jay White. And he had a Union Jack on his coat. And they kept talking about time being up, and they kept showing an hourglass, and this individual was drawing an hourglass or carving an hourglass into a bar top with his knife, and then he proceeded to break a
beer bottle. So this man's walking around a bar with a giant knife and a beer bottle. I'm surprised that a bouncer didn't throw him out or say anything to him. But I really like the aesthetic of somebody breaking a beer bottle. It brings me back to my Streets of Rage day, Sega Genesis 1990. I think it's one of my favorite weapons to use in that game. Yeah. But by the way, Streets of Rage 2 is vastly superior to Streets of Rage. Also, they have a faux Ultimate Warrior in that game that you get to fight in an underground cage match, which is pretty cool. But we don't know who this guy is, but like you said, all the rumors point to the fact that it probably is going to be Chris Brooks. Yeah. I think that's a pretty cool signing. We've talked quite a bit with the current, climate in wrestling and all the people, jumping ship and asking for the releases and getting signed by all these different companies and, the indies kind of being depleted. When is New Japan going to get in the game? And it seems to be that they're not really... Well, I don't know if they've gone after any big names, but it seems to be that they're signing mostly indie talent that's a little bit lesser known. Maybe guys that they can help make. Right, yeah. We have a bunch of questions here. First quick question about LIJ from our boy, Undoubtedly Dean. Jack Dean. He says, once Hiromu returns, how do you think LIJ will operate in 10-man tags? Who do you think would be left out?
Well, I think that they should start instituting 12-man tags.
Yeah, I would be down with LIJ 12-man tag. Honestly, I think the easy answer would be to tell Bushi to stay in the back, have Hiromu take a spot in those 10-mans.
I think it's a pretty simple answer. I mean, we've got big groups like the Bullet Club and like Suzuki-gun and Chaos who continue to rotate out their members for 10-man tags, and I think that they'll just do that, and it depends on what kind of feuds different individuals are in. And the great thing with LIJ is any one of their members can be involved in any sort of tag or singles feud at any given moment.
Exactly.
And you can either utilize the 10-man tag to build to those matches, or you can have one of those guys off fighting for a junior title or fighting for a never belt while the other guys are involved in multi-man matches. So I don't think it's that complicated. We know how all the other factions and groups operate, so I assume it would be the same.
Then question from our man Rambone Slam Pig. He said, any word on who the new wrestler with the biker video is? We just kind of covered that. All signs are leading to Chris Brooks.
It's Hiromu. Time's up. The ticking time bomb is coming back.
Oh, man.
And he'll stab you this time.
Next question comes from our man Imp from LOP at the damn Implicat on Twitter.
Implications.
He says NJPW is going on a lanky white fella signing rampage. Which one's attacking Juice then?
What's the question?
He said NJPW is going on a lanky white fella signing rampage. Which one's attacking Juice then? Again,
Chris Brooks.
We think it's Chris Brooks. I mean, honestly, I really haven't heard many other names of who this could be. I did hear somebody try to say it was Oka.
That would actually be interesting.
I just feel like the skin tone of the hand looked a little bit light. Maybe it's the lighting in the bar and the video. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, but that's true. He was in Rev Pro.
It's Kawato.
Good.
No, obviously, I think the big key indicator is this person's wearing a Union Jack. Oka is over in Rev Pro now, so it could hypothetically be him, but, almost everybody is saying that it's Chris Brooks.
Right, and he's kind of like tweeted and retweeted some stuff about people kind of pointing signs to him.
Yeah, apparently he was tweeting things and then had to kind of delete them. So that's the one thing is, in the past, New Japan's been pretty good about bringing in surprise guys, and it's hard to kind of figure out who they are, but in the current climate, it's been pretty easy to figure out. Everyone knew that El Phantasmo was coming in, and pretty much everybody knows Chris Brooks is coming in now.
The El Phantasmo thing was hilarious to me, because the very first time they played the video, Kevin Kelly was like, I recognize that music, I recognize that man, it's El Phantasmo. And then the rest of the tour, I wonder who this man is. Who could this new Bullet Club member be?
Jeremy, you're not supposed to remember that. But it's all signs point to Chris Brooks.
Yeah, and so
which I'm sure Imp and Sir Sam, they're both from the UK, right?
Yeah, no, Sir Sam's in Australia.
Australia, my bad. That was racist of me. I apologize. But I know you said Imp's from the UK.
Yeah,
so I would imagine he's probably familiar with Chris Brooks to some degree. We've seen Chris Brooks live.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive guy. Very, very much like an indie-rific sort of performer, but
yeah,
I've seen his stuff in PWG.
And he's teamed with a guy that's coming into New Japan this month, the Octopus, Jonathan Gresham.
There's CCK?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
So potentially the Chris Brooks or whoever this guy is could be challenging for the IWGP US Championship at the Best of Super Junior Finals. We have a question here from our man Muzza. He wants to know, what other titles could you see being defended at the Best of Super Junior Finals?
All the belts. It doesn't look like they're building towards an IWGP title defense on that evening. So maybe it's a possibility and would still make sense for them to do the IC title since that's the number 2 belt in the company. The Never Championship is probably getting defended at what? Dominion?
I don't know. A date for that wasn't announced. We'll get to that.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
The U.S. title is, looking to be, the likely defended there.
We could always get Never 6-man titles.
We could get any combination of the tag titles, whether it's the juniors or, probably depending on the outcome of the tag league. Probably not the junior tags.
Right. I wouldn't do the junior tags because that would kind of, you would literally have to announce it the day before because you don't want to give away Sho and Yo not making it to the finals if they're not going to. And then you have no really bill for it.
If I was going to make a prediction right now, I would say most likely they'll do the IC belt and the US belt.
I don't think they're doing the IC belt based on what happened on night 2.
Okay.
But we'll get to that in a second. So continue on. Night 1, we move to Evil and Son defeating the team of Okada and Tomohiro. What do you think about this one?
We had discussed on our preview last week, we anticipated that this would be a banger, and we were not disappointed. Really, really good match from all 4 men involved, 4 of the best workers in the industry right now. I'm not always super high on Evil and sometimes not so much Sonata, depending on the situation. But as a tag team, they got to be one of my favorite tag teams in the world right now. They always deliver when called upon. And Okada and Ishii are Okada and Ishii, and they continue to have great matches, and I loved this.
Yeah, and I thought the interactions between Evil and Ishii were great in this match. Did a really great job of getting you hyped up to see their one-on-one match the following day. I mean, they were just laying into each other with these forearm strikes and just trying to one-up each other the whole match. It was great.
That was great. Obviously, the stuff between Okada and Sonata, just trading counters and going back and forth was really, really good as well. Plus, Evil and Okada had great interactions. They've got tons of history. Ishii's got history with Sonata and Evil, and I thought all four men worked very cohesively. This was, a high-octane 17-minute match, and it really delivered.
Yeah, so towards the finish here, Evil and Sonata hit the Magic Killer on Ishii. Then Evil slaps in the Scorpion Deathlock, signature move of Riki Choshu, who helped train Tomohiro Ishii, very influential in his career, so locking on his mentor's move on him. Ishii was stuck in the hole for several minutes, or it felt like, and then Okada tries to make the save, but Sonata gets him locked in the skull end, and then the ref had no choice but to stop the match because Ishii was stuck in the middle, couldn't get out. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it was not a submission. I mean, Ishii did not give up verbally or tap. Marty Asami stopped the match.
It looked to me, if you want my honest opinion on that, it looked to me like he was giving the Mexican submission.
Yeah, the
he was giving you guys can't see it, but where you hold up your finger and you move it forward. To me, that's a submission. Whether they want to try and protect Ishii and say it was a ref stoppage, I understand that that's the official, but I saw that man give the submission.
I don't know if he was doing the Mexican thing or if he was shaking his hand. No, like I don't want to give up.
Well, my answer to that would be this: he kept giving the no signal, which is a side to side finger.
Yeah,
and then towards the end, he did the forward finger, which would indicate a submission. So there might have been some sort of miscommunication there. They definitely tried to protect him, saying it was a doctor stoppage or a ref stoppage. But I'll tell you what, it looked like a submission to me, if you're asking me. But very, very, really good storytelling at the very end there. Just like you alluded to, the fact that, Riki Choshu, who trained and mentored Ishii, was the innovator and inventor of this move. And so to beat him with his mentor's move just added insult to injury. And, really, really good stuff there. Plus, like, Sonata was, putting Okada out and pretty much had a visual win over him as well.
Yeah, and so the LIJ boys, they have momentum going into their big single matches for the second night of Wrestling Dontaku. So then we have the Never Openweight Championship match where we have Taichi taking on Jeff Cobb. What did you think about this one?
I thought it was great. Miho Abe was there.
Yes, the return of the lovely Miho Abe. Always great seeing her on my TV screen.
Yeah, so we got Taichi out with Miho Abe, as well as seconded by Taka Michinoku and Kanemaru, all at ringside. This match was, I think it delivered, but it definitely in the beginning had a lot of the kind of shenanigans that we've become accustomed to when it comes to Taichi.
Yeah, a lot of powdering, using Miho Abe as a human shield, having
Kanemaru attack.
Yeah.
Jeff Cobb came off looking like a strong babyface, very kind of reminiscent performance to, you kind of would get antics like this back in the 80s and early 90s, anytime, whether it was Sting or whether it was Lex Luger, or any of these, kind of bigger, stronger muscle men who would take on Ric Flair. They kind of had to contend with all the outside interference from the Four Horsemen. And in the early goings, Jeff Cobb, they definitely stole a page from that sort of match setup, because even a lot of those distractions didn't seem to deter Jeff Cobb. He looked like a man, kind of determined, kind of brushing that stuff off, kind of trying to outsmart Taichi and get the upper hand. But eventually the tactics did work, and Taichi hit an eye rake on Jeff Cobb and, started kind of taking it to him and slowing things down in the early goings of the match.
Yeah, and one of my pet peeves lately in wrestling happened in this match where Taichi, he got the stretch plum on Jeff Cobb, and he let go of the hold to go for a pin. It's a pet peeve of mine. Like, I don't understand the logic of letting go of a submission hold to go for a pin. I get you want to say, oh, he's passed out, so I can pin him for 3 seconds. But I'm like, or you hold him and get a ref stoppage.
Well, playing devil's advocate, I see exactly what you're saying, and the MMA fan in me definitely agrees with you. What if the logic is that this, like, for instance, what if the person who's applying the submission hold isn't totally confident that they're going to win with the submission hold and is trying to reserve their strength, so they try to pin him as like a temperature check?
Gotcha.
That's a possibility. That might be. I mean, that's just me. I don't want to sound like one of these WWE fans trying to play defense and build logic where there's no logic. But that's one thing that kind of comes to mind. I do know this. A lot of times in MMA, if you have a submission hold and you think it should be effective and work within a certain time period, you might change your tactic if it's not working. Like if you really can't sink it in as deep as you think you can, or something like that. So it's not necessarily unheard of. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, it looked like he had it deep in on Jeff Cobb and then let go.
Right. He had it locked in deep. Like Cobb wasn't close to the ropes. It's like either he was going to tap out, pass out, or the ref was going to stop it.
What are your thoughts about Taichi stealing his moveset from Kawada lately? Taking the stretch plum and taking the Kawada kicks and trying to apply that to his arsenal?
I mean, I think it's improved his matches.
That's pretty funny.
I know it sounds like a joke, but I'm serious. Like, with him implementing those moves, it makes him come off as a serious competitor. Like, he's actually trying to win the match, and it increases the match quality.
Well, there is some truth to that. I mean, a year ago we were talking about Taichi being pretty decent, but not necessarily having a heavyweight move set that would lead him to victory, and it seemed to be that was kind of a story being told in a lot of his matches. So he has changed some things up recently, and that seems to be paying off in him having better matches than he was in the past, which is good here.
Yeah. And something else I noticed with Taichi in this match, he was like kind of trying out multiple strategies to beat Cobb. Like we mentioned earlier, strategy number 1 was, shenanigans, use Suzuki-gun stablemates to get the distraction. That didn't really work out. Cobb eventually came back. So strategy number 2, for whatever reason, he thought it'd be a wise idea to try to outpower Jeff Cobb. He was trying to do some power moves, trying to hit his last ride powerbomb. That failed. And then his final strategy was kind of like what you mentioned, was go to the Kawada moves, go to the kicking, a lot of strike-based stuff.
Yeah. That is an apt analysis, Jeremy Donovan. Only the best. Only the best on Keeping It Strong Style. But no, you're absolutely right. That was exactly what he was trying to do. How did you think Jeff Cobb came off in his response to all this? Do you think that he seemed to be like too singularly minded, just trying to hit a lot of power moves and use his brute strength throughout the match?
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be his strategy going into all matches, and it usually works for him. But, like I mentioned, I think Taichi was kind of more the thinking man here and trying to maneuver Jeff Cobb. And but I think, Cobb looked great here. I loved he had a chopping clothesline combo that he does.
That was cool.
Pretty cool. And then I freaking marked out for the gut wrench combo. So he always does the kind of like 30 Amigos version of the gut wrench. But on the last gut wrench suplex, he popped Taichi up and gave a pile driver.
Yeah.
I freaking popped for that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I did not see that coming.
Yep. So down the stretch, Taichi locked in the stretch plum like we talked about. He covered for 2. Cobb kicked out. Cobb hit a rolling gut wrench suplex and a jumping pile driver, which we both popped for. Cobb gets to his feet, pulls Taichi up, and Cobb hits the swinging Saito suplex, which he just freaking leveled Taichi with that. Taichi ended up popping up, firing back up, and hit him with kicks and the axe bomber. Both men are down again for a very dramatic, moment. Taichi gets up, fires up, but Cobb cuts him off with the lariat. They had an awesome interaction down the stretch here. Cobb cut him off with the lariat and a standing moonsault. The Tour of the Islands is countered into a cradle for 2.
Dude, that was a great near fall.
That was a crucifix bomb? Is that what you call it?
No, that was just like a roll-up, pretty much.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought he hit a crucifix bomb in this match, but actually I'm thinking of a different match.
Yeah.
But he cradled him for 2. The ref got distracted. He hits a low blow. The Gato clutch gets 2, which we've seen in many, many of Taichi's matches before. But then after this, Taichi hits the super kick and the Black Mephisto for the 1, 2, 3. Taichi defeats Jeff Cobb at 17 minutes, 58 seconds, and is the new, never openweight champion of New Japan.
Yeah, so, I thought this was a solid match. I went 3.5 on it. I was a little bit disappointed that Jeff Cobb didn't retain. I thought that there was some more stuff to do with Cobb as the never openweight champion.
I agree. I thought they had more for him than to transition the title back to Taichi.
Right. I mean, he had the big win over Ospreay at Madison Square Garden. I was thinking, that was a big win for Cobb. They're going to do some more stuff with him. Maybe eventually, a match with Ishii and some other kind of standout never guys to kind of build that title up and build Jeff Cobb up. But I'm not really surprised that they went with Taichi. Taichi's a guy who they've been building over the last year and pushing him in that kind of never division and more of a serious singles role.
Well, on a serious note and on a positive note, you could say, oh, well, this was a failure. He lost it in his first defense. This was his first defense, right?
Yes.
But, let's keep it in perspective. Ultimately, Jeff Cobb is a borrowed talent who is pretty much signed with Ring of Honor. Him being able to hold the claim of beating Will Ospreay in Madison Square Garden, to be a simultaneous champion between both companies is a great claim. Him holding his first singles belt in New Japan Pro Wrestling, establishes him as a top-level guy in the company, regardless of the fact that he lost the belt here, and sets him up for big things down the road, regardless of the fact. But ultimately, Taichi is their guy. He's a New Japan talent that's signed there. Like you said, they've been building him up for quite a while now. And, who would you rather have seen drop the belt to him? Would you rather have seen Will Ospreay, defend and lose to Taichi, or does it make more sense for Jeff Cobb to kind of be that in-between guy? So I think everybody kind of benefits here.
Yeah.
And at this point, Taichi is kind of a made guy in New Japan. He's definitely, unless something crazy happens, he's going to be in the G1 this year.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of that, I mean, in this case, I'll say this. Yes, he hit a low blow and that was kind of the big turning point in the match. But ultimately, this is pretty much a clean win for Taichi.
It pretty much was, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as visuals and all that sort of thing, yeah, he cheated. So there is a little bit of a backdoor for Jeff Cobb and that sort of thing. And maybe down the road, if they wrestle again, even in, hypothetically, if Cobb is in the G1, which I don't know if he will be, they might have a really great rematch, and that's something that they can play off in terms of story, like New Japan likes to do. Yeah. But I mean, Taichi 1 year ago was trying to politic his way into the G1, didn't get in, and was very frustrated with his role, and they've decided to kind of go with him now. So he's back at the helm in the Never division, and I think that this benefits everybody involved.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say, though, you're not going to get performances like this out of Taichi in the G1. What you're going to get is something much more similar to what we got out of the Bullet Club last year.
Yikes.
Or what we got out of Jay White last year during the G1. This kind of performance, not to bury Taichi or take anything away from him, but we know that he doesn't consistently go out there and put forth this kind of effort. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He just doesn't. He'll probably have a few great matches during the G1, but if he's in it and he's the champion,
well, honestly, it really depends on which block he's in.
I don't think it does.
You don't think if he ends up in that a killer block, he gets in a block with Ibushi, Naito, Ishii, that those guys aren't gonna get bangers out of him? We already seen Ishii get a 4-star out of him.
Yeah, but did they get one out of Tamatonga?
Well, Tamatonga wasn't in that killer block. Wasn't Tamatonga in the
B block?
Oh, he was in the B block, wasn't he?
There's always that guy who
Fale was in the A block.
There's always that guy who messes up the average, and and Taichi's philosophy on wrestling and heel work and that sort of thing, and he'll have a couple bangers, but we're gonna get classic Taichi matches during the G1. That's what we're getting.
Since we're talking about this topic real quick, and we mentioned Tama, he did tweet out He asked to be removed from this year's G1 Climax.
I saw that,
and wondering if they would grant it. People initially thought it was a joke about WWE people asking for their release to be granted, but he followed up with that tweet by saying he wants to focus on tag team wrestling. So thoughts on Tama potentially not being a G1?
I think that's a really smart way to try to say I don't want to do a bunch of jobs come June and July and September.
Could be.
I think that in a way that would probably benefit the G1. I mean, we know what we're getting with Tama Tonga. He's a guy that he's great in his tag team role, and they're not going to be pushing him as a singles guy. But ultimately, he is a stalwart and a staple of the G1 Climax. So I don't know necessarily that they're actually going to grant that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be guys in the G1 who take pinfall losses, and he's one of those guys. But on the flip side, if they did decide to honor that and not have him be in it, there's plenty of people who can take his spot, and there's plenty of possibility that would open up. So I wouldn't be opposed to it at all.
Yeah, I'd be down. So now the main event of the evening, we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Dragon Lee defending the title against the Bone Soldier, Taiji Ishimori. It was the Bullet Club's last chance to get a win on their birthday on night 1. What do you think about this one?
Fantastic.
Yeah, man. This match was incredible. I was able to watch this match twice because Rich Latta came over.
I just rewatched it for the second time.
Yeah, dude, this match was incredible. It was everything that I expected to be. These guys just went balls to the wall and just put out a fantastic main event here.
Right now, would you say this is the front runner for Junior Match of the Year?
Yeah.
I would say so too.
This pretty much has blown away pretty much any singles junior match that's happened this year.
What would you say prior to this was even the best junior match of the year? My feelings when it came to
Kushida and
Taiji. And then Taiji had a very, very impressive performance against Taguchi.
And then he had the match with Liger.
The match with Liger was solid. And then after that, we had the three-way, which may actually, up to this point, been the best junior match of the year. But none of those matches really seem to be in the, in the same sort of vein of excellence that we've experienced the last few years when it comes to big junior title matches during big shows like this. And very fitting. By the way, folks, we are now officially in the Reiwa era of, Japanese wrestling, and in the Japanese, what would you call it? I guess like in the era of their emperor. So the first ever junior title match of the Reiwa era, leaving the what are the other two eras? Oh my god, I can't. Like, I know this. I can't believe I can't say it on the air. But
the Heisei.
Yeah, there was the Showa and then the Heisei era, and now we're in the Reiwa era. So, yeah, but great match. Both guys going out there and killing it, looking so fluid. They had tons of chemistry. This was everything I wanted and more out of this match. Yeah, and it's just
there's so many great spots. The V-trigger exchanges between both guys. Ishimori hitting a nasty-looking crucifix bomb.
That's the crucifix bomb I was talking about, yeah.
Dragon Lee's Hurricane Rana, where he jumps from
the outside?
Yeah, he jumps from in the ring while the guy's standing on the apron and jumps over the ropes and does a Hurricane Rana. I mean, we've seen that spot live, and it's always incredible.
It's crazy. Dragon Lee is 23 years old, man.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And just killing it. But yeah, man, I absolutely love this match. I went 4.75 on this bad boy.
I'm the same. I'm right there with you. Yeah, this match blew me away. Both guys putting their bodies on the line, going out there, but not just having a spot fest. This was not what I would call a flippy-do match or a spot fest. Tons of psychology, great storytelling, tons of back-and-forth action, lots of near falls. The interactions between these guys were so fluid, and the near falls and the storytelling aspect was so high here. And even though I expected Lee to win, there was quite a few times where they had me biting on the bit thinking that Ishimori had regained the title.
Yeah, and it was a great callback to the 2018 Best of the Super Junior Finals when Ishimori and Lee, they were trading forearm strikes on their knees, which was Ishimori and Hiromu last year at the finals.
Ooh, yeah.
And we know, Dragon Lee, he's doing everything for Hiromu. He came out with the Kamatachi mask, which used to be Hiromu's gimmick in CMLL, and they had that big mask versus mask match that Dragon Lee won.
Yo, he took that man's mask and then he took that man's hair.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Dragon Lee, he said he's holding the belt, he's holding this ready for his match with Hiromu. So that was interesting that they had that call back there with Dragon Lee kind of being Hiromu there. And then kind of a hot sequence that you mentioned with Ishimori. He had Dragon Lee in the yes lock for a very long time. And it looked like Dragon Lee was going to tap out. And, actually, Rich and I were having a joke about this because Dragon Lee, he would try to, push himself towards a rope, but he would, slap his hand down on the mat.
He's tapping.
And we're like, oh, tap.
He was tapping, man.
It's a tap.
That's a tap.
Because, dude, he did it several times in a row where, he was just trying to, grab onto the mat to, push himself forward, but he would, slap down on the mat.
Who was the ref here? Was it Marty Asami or was it Red Shoes?
No, it was Red Shoes. It's the main event.
The best in the business. This man using his referee discretion to know when a person's tapping out or not tapping out.
Yeah. Ishimori also got a great near fall with that lung blower maneuver that he does that looks like he's about to do the bloody cross, but he does a lung blower kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then eventually came down to Dragon Lee. He hits a big running knee that got a near fall, and he followed up with the I can't even say this correctly. Desnuchadora. I know I totally butchered that thing.
Desnuchadora.
But it's like the suplex into a powerbomb type maneuver that he always does.
Let me tell you something, man. That running knee strike was massive. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a more impactful or devastating running knee strike in any wrestling match. That was highlight reel worthy. He freaking leveled Ishimori. And when he got the 2 after that, I thought that was the match. That's how hard he hit him. I was like, oh, they're going to let him win with a knee strike. This is awesome.
Yeah.
He killed Ishimori with that knee strike.
Yeah, and so, Dragon Lee, he retains here, and is still your IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. Another question from Rambone Slam Pig. He says, does a Dragon Lee Ishimori match get you hyped for Best of the Super Juniors or what?
Bro, so hyped. These guys had plenty of time to wrestle. 25 minutes, almost 26 minutes. They had an incredible main event. It was awesome because Dragon Lee didn't actually pin Ishimori to win the title. And so him defeating Ishimori and defending the belt solidifies him as the rightful champion. And the match was just really good throughout, well executed, tons of peaks and valleys. What I loved is anytime these guys would hit big moves, they would sell, which, is an underrated art and something that is, we see it on the indies so much where guys overuse the whole trope where they end up hitting big moves and then popping up almost immediately, and it's like they're just rushing through their stuff. Sometimes the story of a match benefits when it's believable that two guys hit big moves and then they both sell it afterwards. I mean, that's something that's a lost art, and these two guys are so advanced for their age.
And there was also that great double count out, near double count out.
Yes.
Where literally they both got in right before 20.
Yeah. So, and then down the stretch, just a really, really dramatic, sequence of moves, really teasing that Ishimori was going to get the title back. Excellent stuff, and the right person won here and solidified himself as the rightful champion. Yeah. And yes, this gets me extremely hyped for Best of Super Juniors. I wouldn't say that the junior division has been in a lull or anything of that nature, because it's not like we've been having bad matches, but, over the past few years, we've become accustomed to a level of excellence, whether it was Ricochet or whether it was, Will Ospreay or Hiromu or any number of Kushida, obviously, junior champions just putting on excellent main events across the board. And we've kind of been missing these big blowaway matches, and this one really delivered and gets me extremely excited for the Best Super
I'm
Juniors.
super excited for Best of Super Juniors. I hope these guys are in the same block. I want to see a rematch with these guys. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, the lineup this year is phenomenal. I think it's going to end up being one of the best tournaments there's ever been.
We're going to talk about Night 2 here in a moment, but let me just say this. Do you think that this is the leading candidate for Match of the Month right now?
I think it is.
I think so, too.
And before we move on to Night 2, I just want to drop some attendance facts. So last year, Night 1 of Dontaku, which had Kenny Omega in the main event, did 4,066. This year's Dontaku Night 1 did 4,011. So only 55 less than last year's Night 1 of the show. And I think that's pretty good considering you had a Kenny Omega in a main event in the previous year. And here you had a junior title match, and then you had a semi-main of LIJ versus Chaos. So I think New Japan did it pretty good here for Night 1.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's get into Night 2 of Wrestling Dontaku. Pulling up the card here. So, of course, opening match, we have our Young Lions in action. This time it was just a regular tag instead of a 6-man tag. We had Shota Umino, Ren Narita defeating the team of Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura.
My surprising take on this match, it was not as good as the opener from the first night. I think part of that could be due to the fact that they had less time to work with, and I think that that's pretty much my only real gripe with it.
Yeah, and they kind of they reversed roles this time with Uemura being
the face in peril.
Yeah.
Do you think that played into why I didn't really connect with it as much as the other match?
That possibly could be. And also this time, Umino was the one who got the win. He hit the fisherman suplex on Tsuji to pick up the win.
But all in all, still a solid affair between all 4 of the Young Lions in New Japan right now. Great performances across the board.
Yeah, I think the big story here is what happened after the match with Narita. Yeah, he kind of stomps out Uemura after the match, kind of pushing that rivalry that they've been having.
What do you think that's storyline, or do you think that's real life?
I don't know. Maybe there's heat in the dojo. Maybe Uemura is not, getting laundry done on time. Maybe he's not, getting the back scrubbed correctly.
I've been hearing rumors that there are wrestlers out there that don't want to hand out water bottles or carry other wrestlers' bags.
Yeah. Maybe Uemura, he doesn't want to, carry Liger or Tenzon.
My sources say that Uemura went to HR and complained about it.
Uemura did a full interview with Fightful.com.
He did an interview with Fightful.com.
That will be out tomorrow, detailing what goes on in the dojo.
We will get the full translation for you guys. Also, Uemura was offered a contract, and he said, double it or I'm gone. He said, release me. Let my people go. Let Uemura go, man.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to go to AEW. Gonna enter that over the budget battle royal.
Oh man!
But yeah, so next matchup we have Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, El Desperado, and Taka Michinoku defeating the team of Jeff Cobb, Yoshihashi, Toa Hanare, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Tiger Mask.
So, did you think it was kind of weird that Jeff Cobb came out like all smiley, like a stupid smiley baby face after like losing his first title in the company?
Yeah, he had like, I'm happy to be here look, which I know Jeff Cobb loves being in Japan.
I'm just happy to be here, guys.
But yeah, I think he should have played it up, being a little bit more frustrated, a little bit, being angry that he lost the belt, especially on his first title defense. He should have been trying to kill Taichi in this match, and we really didn't get that here.
Yeah, he did not look like an angry babyface looking for comeuppance. He was like, I'm just happy to be... Oh, shucks, I'm just happy to be here, guys. One thing I thought was interesting, all of Suzuki-gun came out to the... Was it Suzuki's music? Or was it?
Yeah, they came out to Suzuki's music, Kaze ni Nare.
And then Taichi got his own entrance, kind of highlighting what we had mentioned the previous night, how... It does seem that New Japan is really getting behind this push of Taichi and kind of highlighting his star power within the group, coming out to a solo entrance, Which, you know what is funny? I've always kind of hated in the past when they've done the mashups between, like, when Taichi would come out and he would start to do his music and then they'd cut it off and they go to, like, Isuka's music or something.
Yeah.
And then, like, Ishii or Taichi would have to, like, bang on the mic and be like, what happened? But, they really seem to be getting behind him here. But aside from those, I think that's almost, like, the most notable thing. Not much to this match, and I thought it was one of the worst matches of the two nights, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of a story here that you might have missed if you don't watch the promos backstage, Hanare said he wanted to be next in line for the Never title. He was going to challenge Taichi.
I bet he does.
Next, but the match came down to Taichi super kicking Hanare, letting him know that he will not be challenging, pins this man, and gets him out of there.
He did, however, hit Taichi with a spear for 2 and then almost hit the Toa bottom. But, Taichi fought out of it, and, he's the bigger star. He's the man now, and so got the clean win over Hanare, who is quickly working his way to Jag status in this company.
Yeah. So the following match, we have Jushin Thunder Liger, Togi Makabe, and Toru Yano defeating Tamatonga, Tangaloa, and Jado. Not much here. When you get Jado in there, you already know what's happening. You know he's going to be doing the JOB.
I did like Liger's when he got the shine in the early part and he just freaking showed the crap out of everybody.
Yeah.
Clearing the ring. That was pretty awesome. But, this was, aside from that, this was actually, you know what? I got to retract what I just said because this was significantly worse than the match previous.
Yeah, this was the worst match of the tour.
Yes. Yeah, this is like worse than almost everything we saw on the Dontaku tour entirely.
Yeah.
Which, I guess it's not too surprising considering, not to bury any of the wrestlers, but the mashup isn't necessarily one that... I haven't been dying to see this MVP Liger versus, Bullet Club match, honestly.
Yeah. Also, I think it was kind of weird that, they had Liger and Suzuki in 2 different matches here.
I mentioned that last week.
Yeah.
I mentioned how, I was wondering if there was going to be some sort of payoff between the two. But we noticed and we talked about how they seemed to be at a stalemate the night before, and they seemed to be continuing to run with that storyline. But then the next night, we hear nothing about it. So, very interesting. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so like I mentioned here, Yano, he does the low blow and schoolboy roll up, gets the pin on Jado. Liger, Makabe, and Yano get the win here. Bullet Club eating another L on their Bullet Club birthday weekend. So the next match
they put the L in Bullet Club.
We have Juice Robinson, Hiroki Goto, Mad Mikey Nichols, and Tomioka Hanma defeating the Bullet Club team of Jay White, Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, and Hikuleo.
This was fine. Kind of lacked some energy and felt a little bit flat. Nothing here super inspiring. I wouldn't give this the recommend, but it was fine.
Yeah. I think it was Juice ended up pinning Hikuleo at the end here, right? With Pulp Friction.
Yes, he hit the left hand of God and the Pulp Friction and finished Young Lion Hikuleo.
Yeah, and with that loss, at this point in the Dontaku weekend, Bullet Club was now 0-5 in their matches. Great way to celebrate the anniversary of the Bullet Club.
Afterwards, we got another airing of the Time Is Up video. So whoever this mystery challenger is for Juice, continuing to taunt, continuing to play mind games, if you will. And so continuing to build up whatever that may be. And then afterwards, we had the matchup of Dragon Lee and Will Ospreay, the super team, taking on the Bullet Club team of Taiji Ishimori and X. And we finally discovered who X is. Whoever could it be?
Hiromu Takahashi. No, it was El Phantasmo from Rev Pro. The newest Bullet Club member gets the big entrance, comes out, Bullet Club shirt, throwing up the 2 sweets, and we get Ishimori coming out. Then Ospreay comes out with a very surprised look on his face because obviously Ospreay and El Phantasmo were friends while in Rev Pro. There's a relationship there, and he was surprised that El Phantasmo joined the Bullet Club. He was questioning him, why are you doing this? And at the start of the match, Dragon Lee was ready to run it, and he's like, no, hold on, this is my friend, like I know him, let me talk to him. And then ELP, El Phantasmo, just hits him with that too sweet on the forehead.
Ooh.
And no handshake here.
Here's my question to you. With Robbie Eagles and El Phantasmo joining the Bullet Club fold, is there any chance that the mole in Chaos is none other than Will Ospreay?
Oh. That's an interesting wrinkle.
Could he be enticed to go to the dark side?
Maybe he could be.
That would be one of those stupid things because he just had a big match with Jay White, and is having this match with Ishimori and El Phantasmo, and that would be one of those stupid. I won't say any company names, but one of those stupid Western style storylines that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
How many guys did we ever see feud with the NWO and then be like, I was with them all along?
Yeah.
It was me, Austin.
It was me all along. But yeah, this match did a great job.
Oh, real quick before we move on.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any questions this week about who the Mole in Chaos is?
No, we don't.
Thank God. Good riddance, sir.
This match did a great job of introducing El Phantasmo to the New Japan audience. He did all of his big maneuvers. Looked fantastic, watching it with Rich Latta, and as soon as he started flipping, Rich was like, he's okay with me. But yeah, he did a lot of great stuff. The rope walking spot that he was doing was pretty cool. Eat your heart out, Undertaker.
I really don't care about the opinion of RLS, Rich Latta Shyster. No, but yeah, I thought El Phantasmo came off looking very, very good here. Everybody looked great here. Obviously, you've got 4 super workers, and this was a very good and fun tag team match. Up to this point, easily the best thing on the show, and a fantastic debut for El Phantasmo, from his entrance to all the action in the match. I think that he made a way better account of himself in his debut match than, say, the likes of Robbie Eagles when he first made his debut in New Japan.
Yeah, he hit that beautiful Asai moonsault where he was standing on the buckle and he walks the rope and then just gets this mad air, and just while Ishimori was holding Dragon Lee and Ospreay and wipes them out. Yeah, he just looked great here.
I also thought the interactions between Ospreay and El Phantasmo were very good as well. Obviously, like we alluded to, the fact that they have tons of history, a lot of familiarity with one another when it comes to their history working with one another. I've actually seen some of their matches in Rev Pro and abroad, and I wouldn't say they were like, go out of your way, you have to see them, but they've been nothing but good wrestling matches. So I really dug the interactions between these two guys, and Ishimori and El Phantasmo busting out quite a few double team
Dude,
moves.
it was like they have been a seasoned tag team. There was that one like code breaker into the moonsault to the back combo they did. They did a bunch of combos. I'm like, yo, we need Ishimori and ELP in the Super Junior Tag League this year.
Forget that. World Tag League.
I wish that we can just get rid of the junior tags and just combine them. But yeah,
there's people who don't want that.
I know. But I would be down with Taiji and ELP as the team instead of Taiji and Robbie Eagles. Towards the end here, ELP, he super kicked Ospreay in midair when he was going for the Oz Cutter, and then he nailed him with a
spinning TKO.
He did that, and then he followed up with a Styles Clash looking maneuver. Styles Clash, kind of a mix of a Angel's Wing kind of thing, where he trapped the arms, had him up, and dropped them on his face. And he pinned Will Ospreay.
I don't know the official name of that move. I would call it like an elevated pedigree.
Yeah.
That's what I would probably call it. But yeah, he gets the 1-2-3 over Will Ospreay, which, as we all know, Will Ospreay's been on a tear this year. He may be the leading candidate for Wrestler of the Year, not just in New Japan, but across the board. He's got to be in the top 5 at this point. And, they've been having him beat heavyweights all throughout the year.
Yeah, honestly, that's why I was very surprised that they chose to pin Ospreay here. I thought they would have gone with ELP pinning Dragon Lee.
Setting up a title match?
Or just setting up the fact that he beat the champion going into Best of Super Juniors, and then you can put them in the same block and have Dragon Lee get the win back.
Is that what we predicted last week?
Yeah, I think it was.
I think it is, but, it kind of makes sense. El Phantasmo and Will Ospreay, they're the ones, we probably should have seen it coming because they do have history, they do have a friendship and a relationship. And the fact I think it's almost a stronger way to get him over to actually pick up a win over Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
And to have it done in a tag team match is significant. Very few times do you see major stars take pinfall losses, whether it be singles or tag matches. So when a guy comes in and gets a definitive win over a big star like Will Ospreay, that sets him up for nothing but success, and it's a big indication of the type of run that we expect to see El Phantasmo go on when it comes to Best Super Juniors this coming year.
Yeah, and this match was just short of 10 minutes, but did a great job of getting over the kind of rivalry with Ospreay and El Phantasmo, and just getting El Phantasmo over in general.
And let me give a little bit of praise to my boy, my favorite wrestler, the nicest wrestler I've ever met in my life, Will Ospreay. No, but in all seriousness, hats off to Will Ospreay in doing the JOB, because he doesn't necessarily have to do that sort of thing, and it does show a selflessness and show a willingness to do what needs to be done for the greater good of the company and for a debuting star, because there's almost no stronger way they could have gotten Phantasmo over and made him in one night than to have him beat Will Ospreay clean in the middle of the ring. And it is very reminiscent of the debut that Ishimori made just 1 year ago.
Yeah, last year's Wrestling Dontaku tour, we had the hype videos of the return of the Bone Soldier, and eventually it was Ishimori, and he, had his eyes set on Will Ospreay, attacked Ospreay to kind of set stuff up for Best of Super Juniors last year. So pretty much a little repeat of what happened this year, except we had ELP being the one to make the debut for Bullet Club and going after Ospreay. Great matchup. I went 3.75 on that one. The next match of the night was the team of Tetsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, and Bushi, defeating the team of Kota Ibushi, Sho, and Yo of Roppongi 3K. So obviously this was a rematch from night one, but this one went a little bit longer, and I like this one better. More great interactions between Naito and Ibushi. There was a spot where Naito drilled Ibushi with a Gloria, just dropped him on his head, looked nasty. But yeah, man, I definitely enjoyed this match, this one better than the previous night's match of this one.
I agree. I think that one of those things that probably elevated this match were the interactions between Ibushi and Tetsuya Naito. They kind of saved that for the second night, which was really great. It almost sounds like we're saying the same thing that we've said so many times on this tour, that the matchups between Chaos and Ibushi taking on LIJ members, they just continuously deliver match after match, night after night. They have been the most, even though we've had great matches, out of all the undercard, multi-man tags, this has been the thing that has been the highlight of the tour. And it's just so funny because we talked about it last week, where in any other company, they'd be criticized for continuously doing similar matchups, continuously making you watch the same thing night after night, over and over and over again. But it's very hard to be hard-pressed to complain about it or to have a negative take on that, because these guys are going out there and putting on near 4-star performances every single time. And this was just another example of that. And each match is unique. Each match is different. The creativity between this combination of performers. And, we don't always get to see juniors and heavyweights interact the way that we've been able to see, a Naito and a Sho, or a Bushi and Shingo. And this has just been very, very, very enjoyable. And, I dug this a lot.
Yeah, and once again, the Bushi and Shingo interactions were great. There was a great spot where Shingo hit a pop-up Death Valley driver on a Bushi. That was just awesome pop for that one. And then we come down towards the end of the match. He's going for this new Dragon Suplex finisher that he used to retain the junior tag titles. He tried to hit it on Naito, but Naito escapes. LIJ clears the ring. Naito hits the Destino for the win. And then we get post-match promo. Naito has the mic in the ring.
This is why what I said earlier was stupid.
Ibushi comes to the ring. And Naito, he said, sorry, the title match didn't happen tonight. They didn't change the card. But he's like, how about we have the match at Dominion, see or no? Ibushi gets in the ring, grabs the mic, says, see. So it's on June 9th, Osaka Joe Hall. The white strap will be on the line once again as Kota Ibushi defends against Tetsuya Naito. We have some questions here about that, Ibushi and Naito. First,
I got some questions.
First from Reddit user DomHomie101. He says, do you guys think that Ibushi versus Naito could benefit from being a gimmick match, to add something new to it, like a ladder match as an example?
I think that is an interesting question and an interesting suggestion. It's something that I hadn't actually thought of up to this point at all, to be honest, because gimmick matches are so few and far between when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling. I almost feel like up to this point, if they were going to do that, they might have started to tease or allude to it, but you never know. Every once in a while, they'll introduce, when they do gimmick matches, every once in a while they'll introduce it kind of out of the blue during a promo or during a backstage interview. They haven't alluded to it yet, so there's no reason to think right now that is what they're going to do. You never know, though. We could have some listeners from the office hearing you right now, Dom Honey 101, and that's a possibility. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I think a gimmick could help, change things up and add a new twist, a new flavor to this matchup. I do have a hard time seeing a ladder match, though. I know we've had the one ladder match. It was what, Tanahashi? It
was Elgin and
Kenny?
Omega.
Yeah. It was supposed to be Kenny and Tanahashi, but Tanahashi got hurt.
How great would that have been?
Oh, man, that would have been amazing. So, yeah, ladder matches are rare. It's not really done in New Japan. And
they've done it twice.
Yeah.
Both Omega matches.
Yeah. So
wait, that wasn't a ladder match.
No, they just had a ladder spot.
With Cody.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason I was thinking it was a ladder match.
So, yeah, I don't know if ladder match would be the way they would go. Maybe a 2 out of 3 falls.
That was going to be my question to you. So, if you could, if it was up to you, and you've got the book, you're Gato, and you think, let's spice this matchup. It needs a little something, a little flavor, a little something. What would you book? What would you book?
Yeah, I think I would go either 2 out of 3 falls or maybe a 30-minute Iron Man.
Ooh, 30-minute Iron Man. That's interesting. I don't know what I would do. I like the idea of a ladder match, actually, but maybe not for this feud. But I'm just trying to think what would be good. I don't think a submission match would make very much sense.
No, neither of them have submission finishers.
Nah. And I almost, to a certain degree, feel like 2 out of 3 falls would be pretty cool. A shorter version of the Iron Man match would be pretty cool as well. But with that being said, does this feud really need that? You know what I mean?
It's definitely not heated up enough to do like a false count anywhere
or like a no DQ.
Yeah, they haven't heated it up to that point. It's still kind of been very friendly one-upmanship kind of rivalry,
like classic wrestling.
Yeah.
So I think that the gimmicks that you kind of mentioned kind of would play somewhat into the type of match that these guys have been having. But then again, 2 out of 3 falls matches sometimes are hard to pull off, and same thing with an Iron Man match. I actually think, just thinking off the top of my head, I almost would prefer just the straight standard match that we're probably going to get, because it's going to be insane. And a 2 out of 3 falls match, these guys go out and kill each other every single time.
Yeah.
The only real benefit I see to it being a 2 out of 3 falls match is the idea that both men get a visual fall over one another, and it kind of protects them a bit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Next question comes from Reddit user CFC Champions.
Oh, wait, one thing before we move on. I did want to say, though, with the 2 bangers that these guys have had this year and then the fact that we're getting another big match on a big show, we are looking at what is most likely right now the feud of the year.
Yeah.
When it comes to in-ring, this got to be the feud of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
Even beyond Liger and Suzuki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that definitely has the heat and like the promos and the backstage stuff. But from a in-ring quality, like you mentioned, it's definitely a Bushi.
When you talk about a series of matches, these guys have the best series of matches going this year. Kind of, I would say, followed closely by in second place by most likely Okada and Jay White, I would say, probably.
Yeah. All right, so next question from our user CFC Champions. He says, if Naito does not walk out of Wrestle Kingdom 14 IWGP Heavyweight Champion after defeating Okada and is again in an IC title match, does that kill his character and prove that Gato has misbooked him?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question because I don't know if that's what they're going to even... I don't even know if he's going to be in the title match. It's really... I mean, what do you think, man? I really don't know.
Here's the thing. I know Naito and LIJ fans desperately want Naito to be the IWGP champion, to finally beat Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, to leave the Dome as the champion. And, you know, that's the only booking direction they want. However, I listened to those reactions on both nights of this Dontaku tour. Naito was super over. He got huge pops, probably one of the biggest pops of the night, both nights. He's still super over without being the IWGP champion. So I'm not sure if you have to do that. If you have to have Naito walk out with the belt.
Okay, you don't have to, right? But let's talk about this. They've been going with Okada for a long time now. His first reign, legendary, one of the greatest, if not the greatest title reign in the history of New Japan, maybe the whole sport. It's up there with, you know, your Kenta Kobashis and your, you know, Samoa Joes and your Hulk Hogans and all these, like, fantastic title reigns that we, you know, hold in high regard. It's right up there. But there is something to be said about the fact that a lot of the matches he probably has had or will be having, you know, it's a lot of repeats. There's a lot of, you know, stories that have been told that are getting retold, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But with with Naito at the top, the fact that he is so over, this company, I mean, the whole point of wrestling is to make money. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine that he is a guy that is only going to be popular in the chase, because even when he's not chasing, even when he's not doing anything, he's super over.
Right.
I think that there's a case to be made with the fact that, A, heating him up for a title run, especially in the G1, is going to be super easy if that's what they decide to do. Number 2, him as champion, I can't imagine that it would be anything but mega successful, especially in that Japanese market. And C, there's a ton of stories that haven't been told, a ton of matches that can be made, and lots of things they can do. And if you do book Okada to be champion between now and Wrestle Kingdom, that's a respectable reign with a lot of good title defenses between it. And it plays into the story that we've seen, or that we've anticipated to be told with, you know, them having their third Wrestle Kingdom match and him finally climbing to the top of the mountain. It makes a lot of sense to me that that's the way they potentially would go. I think the big 2 monkey wrenches are Jay White and even more so Ibushi.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 big things where it's like, well, what are we doing with those guys?
Right.
And there is a big case to be made for the fact that they might go with Ibushi. And Will Ospreay's kind of flirting in that area as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of potential options of what they can do. Remember, there's 2 nights at the Dome this year. There's a lot of big matches, a lot of potential options. And don't get me wrong, I am for Naito going to the Dome and winning the belt. I've been predicting that as the Wrestle Kingdom 14 main event for quite some time now. They've kind of thrown a monkey wrench in with 2 nights. Now we have Ibushi full-time. Like you mentioned, we got Jay White, the top guy. We have Will Ospreay on the ascent to becoming a top guy. So there's a lot of variables at play that kind of make it questionable whether they are going to do Naito or not.
Now, here's one thing I will say, because I think his question is, correct me if I'm wrong, his question is, if he doesn't win in the title match, does that kill his character?
Right, and prove that Gato has misbooked him.
I think that if he is not in the title match and he has something meaningful, and I know there's people cringing even just hearing that right now, then it doesn't necessarily ruin him or bury him or whatever. It just means that he's not going to get that spot right now that people wanted him to get, and there will be criticism against that, and I'm not advocating for it. But I think what would kill him
Losing to Okada
is if he gets the title shot and he loses again, because now we're talking about a perennial guy that can't get it done, and that's, he's not where Nakamura was when Nakamura was at the tail end of his New Japan run and couldn't win the IWGP title. Like, he's not there. He's kind of way more over than that, way past that. So I guess what my big argument against what you had said, Jeremy, earlier is, like, sometimes, certain guys don't need the belt, and you're absolutely right. Like, Naito is not necessarily a guy that needs the belt, but I think the opportunity is there. Is with how over he is, it doesn't make a lot of sense to not go with him at some point,
right?
Especially with how long they've been building it up. They need to pull the trigger on him at some point, and if not now, then when?
Right.
That's my thing. And I think from a money standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, now is the time. So he still is my favorite guy to go.
I still think, that's what I would do. I would still go with Naito.
But if he's not in the title match and he's doing something else, it doesn't kill him. But if he gets to the precipice and then doesn't win the belt and then loses against whoever the champion is again at Wrestle Kingdom, then I will officially be on that they've killed Naito bandwagon. I really will be.
All right, so moving on, we had a segment here. The Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, comes back. He comes out to cheers, and he cuts a promo, talking about how, last year at this time, he challenged for the title, and then he hit a low, but then he came back and won the G1. He went to the Tokyo Dome, won the title, but then he lost the title, and then he came back from his injury, and he's on a low, but he promises he's going to rise up again. He will be back in action June 5th at the Best of the Super Junior Finals at Sumo Hall, and he said that he would win the G1 again. Out comes Switchblade Jay White, not happy that Tanahashi's back, not happy that
along with Gato.
Yeah, with Gato, of course, and not happy Tanahashi's back. He says that he's first in line for a title shot, that Tanahashi is at the back of the line, even behind Goto. But then White jumped him. He put his injured elbow in a steel chair, and he was going to do a single man concerto with it to the injured arm, but luckily the young lion stepped up and made the save here for the Ace.
And he says he's next and leaves.
Yeah.
So here's what I would like to have happen at this point of the show. You said some pretty inflammatory things about my Ace. You said some really hateful, horrible things about Tanahashi. You said that he was a liar. You said that he was working a gimmick. You said that he wasn't actually injured, that this whole thing was a farce. You said he was working us, and that didn't prove to be true. So I would like for you to take the time now to issue a public apology to one Hiroshi Tanahashi. The floor is yours, Jeremy.
Well, first of all, you exaggerated a little bit on some of the stuff.
That was word for word.
I didn't say he was a farce. You
said he wasn't a good wrestler, and you said he couldn't read good. You said his hair looked stupid.
No, you can listen back to the episode. I did not say any of that.
Don't do that. Take my word. I would not lie to you.
So here's what I'll say.
You're not gonna apologize?
Oh, I'm not gonna apologize.
Oh my God!
Here's what I'll say. I'll say I was wrong. I have some sources who were saying that Tanahashi, that this was not a legit injury. And plus, if you watch New Japan for the last couple years, Tanahashi does go on hiatus during this time period. And usually there is some kind of mysterious injury that comes out of nowhere.
Bro, they're not mysterious. This man is broken down.
But yeah, it looks like this time that the elbow injury was legit.
Oh
so
my God.
I'm sorry if I gave false information, but according to my sources, that's what I was hearing. But unfortunately, they were wrong this time.
I want to know who your sources are. That's what I want to know. You got these mysterious sources.
I keep them close to the vest.
Oh my God. Well, on the behalf of Keeping It Strong Style, Hiroshi Tanahashi, I would like to apologize on behalf of my co-host. We know that you were actually injured. We know you've been injured every single time you've gone on hiatus, all these different years, and you would never lie to us. And you are still the 1 in 1,000 talent, once in a lifetime, the ace of the universe, the greatest IWGP champion. You saved this company. We wouldn't be here without you. You have great hair, and despite what Jeremy says, you're a fantastic reader. I'm sure your Lexile scores are off the chart.
You done? All right. So.
And he gonna fuck up this geek, Jay White.
Oh, man. So, next up, Tomohiro Ishii, the Stone Pitbull, defeats Evil in what was one hell of a blockbuster fight.
Fight of the year candidate?
Yeah, Strong Style Fight of the Year candidate.
Fight of the year candidate, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, this was a fight, ladies and gentlemen. And like the previous night's tag match, kind of showed what we were going to get. It gave a little taste of what we were going to get here tonight in this matchup. And these guys, as soon as the bell rang, charged each other with shoulder blocks.
Run it.
Yes, literally, run it.
Run it.
Shoulder blocks, forearms, stiff strikes. I mean, these guys...
Headbutts, throat chops, kicks, knees, elbows, all the offense in the world. These guys were killing each other. And you know what? I want to issue an apology on my behalf because I have said slanderous things about Evil and him not showing up when it comes to big matches. But you put him in there with Ishii and things change.
Dude, Evil was here to play. And
Evil was here to play the game.
Evil's a guy I like. Actually, I actually like Evil. I know that, some don't consider him the best wrestler. He doesn't always, have the best star ratings in his one-on-one matches. But there's something about Evil I like. And in this match, he showed up big time here. And just really proves what he can do on a big stage.
I just think last year when he had that Never match with Goto, I was expecting this style of matchup. Mm-hmm. And we didn't get that. And it's been a little while. Maybe I'm being a little not really remembering, but it feels like it's been a while since we've seen Evil have a performance like this. I kind of remember him and Elgin having a pretty good match during the G1 last year. Mm-hmm. But it's hard for me to remember an Evil match that I've liked this match in quite a while.
Yeah.
And this match was great.
And not only was it a fight, there was a lot of great storytelling and psychology in this match as well. Evil, he's been using the Scorpion Deathlock on Ishii on this tour.
Dastardly.
And like we mentioned, the previous night he got the ref stoppage with the Scorpion Deathlock. So throughout the match, he was working over Ishii's leg, trying to lock in that Scorpion Deathlock.
Body part match.
Yeah, but then eventually, that was Ishii who started working on Evil's leg, and he applied the Scorpion Deathlock onto Evil, and the crowd popped huge for that one.
Yeah, bro. There was one point where Tomohiro Ishii basically Evil lariated Tomohiro Ishii and locked in the Scorpion and was sitting back on it just like the night previous. And then Ishii got to the ropes and then got up and kneed Evil and laid in strikes and dropped Evil. And then Tomohiro Ishii just fired the fuck up. Hit him with the sliding lariat, connected for two. Evil countered out of the brainbuster, hit his own German. Ishii popped up, and then Evil hit a lariat. These exchanges were just so... It's everything that we've come to expect and see from Ishii. I was popping huge for the Germans and the lariats and the suplexes.
Yes, and bro, I love the spot where they, both lariat each other.
Yes.
And the cell, Ishii was looked kind of shaking, fell back as he took the bump.
Listen,
oh my gosh, it was great.
I've said it many times before, and I know I'm not the only Social Suplex member that has this opinion. The best seller in all of pro wrestling, bar none, is Tomohiro Ishii.
Yes, dude. When he took that lariat, dude, I can't even, you have to watch. If you haven't watched it, pay attention to the way he sell, how he was, bumbling back and, fell backwards. It was great.
And shout out to James Boyd. I had a guest spot on NXT Then, Now, and Forever this past week. Was that this past week, Friday?
Yes.
Man, my weekend's been crazy. I'm forgetting stuff. But we discussed on that show how there are certain people who haven't, we talked about Dijak, and we talked about Brock Lesnar and Shayna Baszler, and I even thought about Big Van Vader, how there are these monsters who give this air of invincibility and, toughness and ruggedness, and then they'll be in a match and they just come off like imposing forces, and then suddenly the other guy will start to lay stuff in, and they sell incredibly. And every single one of those guys I mentioned kind of give off that same thing, and it's so effective when you have somebody who seems impenetrable and then they start getting penetrated, for lack of a better word. And Ishii is one of those guys. As small as he is, he's just so imposing. And then when he starts getting beat, because a lot of the offense he will try to shrug off, and he'll try to, just put his forehead to the flint and move forward and drudge through it. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, after too much damage accumulates, the selling commences, and this guy is incredible. He's better than all those people when it comes to that aspect.
Yeah, he's amazing, and he made Evil look like an absolute superstar with the way he was selling the maneuvers from him.
Am I off base in saying that he made Evil look more like a star than any opponent in recent memory?
No, I don't think you're off base at all.
I think he made Evil look better than Kenny Omega did during their G1 match 2 years ago. I think he made, aside from the fact that Evil beat Okada, I thought he made Evil look better than Okada did in their match, which is a fantastic, almost 5-star affair. In terms of giving to a guy and making him look credible and look threatening and legit, he made Evil look great here. And Evil, like you said, he was here to play the game. He showed up in a big way. Both these guys were excellent, man. And as much as I love the junior match, and I still think it's probably match of the month right now, depending on your taste, this could be a close second or even your first pick. Yeah. Is that good?
Yeah, so Ishii, he drilled Evil for Insecurity right to the face.
Yep.
He got a near fall with a lariat, and then he picked him up, hit him with the brain buster. 1, 2, 3. Ishii gets the win. I'm going 4.5 on this. Excellent matchup.
Just a freaking awesome war. Exactly what they've been building up to all tour long. It didn't disappoint in any way. We talked, last week about how this would be a war and be a fight. And, this wasn't a grappling contest. This wasn't a catch-as-catch style match. This was, for lack of a better term, this was modern, strong style. You know, it might not be Inoki's strong style, but this is Ishii's strong style.
Yes.
And just a violent match with a highly invested crowd, incredible drama. Ishii delivering, big, again, how we have Big Match John? We got Big Match Tom.
Yes, Big Tom.
Big Tom. And Evil putting in one of the best overall singles performances to date that he's ever had in the company. And if Evil can continue to do what he did here on this night and do that more often, he's going to be a star, man.
Yeah.
Like a star. So, but all I got to say is belt this man up. Give Ishii a title shot again. Do it now.
Yeah, Rich Latta, all caps. I have no question. Tomohiro Ishii needs to be in the main event of the Dome. I don't care.
Was that his question?
Yeah.
That's not a question. That was a statement.
Yes, he said he has no questions. But yeah, so post-match, for the backstage promos, actually Taichi had mentioned the previous night in the promos that he had a special person who he wanted to challenge him next. So then in the post-match promos, Ishii is about to be doing his post-match promo, and Taichi approached him and says that he wants him to challenge him for the Never title. And Ishii was like, "You want to fight me?" And Taichi was like, "Yes, I'm giving you the opportunity to challenge me." Ishii was like, "Okay, you want me to fight you? I'll fight you." He's like, "It's been a while since I've had that belt." He's like, "What have you done to this belt?" Taichi's like, "The belt came this way. I didn't do anything to it."
But he was treating it like crap and throwing it around during his last title reign.
Yeah.
Ishii and Taichi, they have had a singles match. I'm trying to remember when it was. Do you remember?
At the New Japan Cup.
That's right. It was recent. I was trying to remember if it was last year or this year. It was this year. And that was a pretty great match, actually. Remember?
Yeah, 4 stars, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I can't wait to see Taichi get dropped on his dome with that brainbuster 1, 2, 3. How great. Now, I know he probably won't win it. Okay, I know he probably won't win it. But could you see Tomohiro Ishii going to a G1 final? How awesome would that be?
Dude, that would be incredible.
You know that the guy who goes to the G1 finals and loses generally gets featured in a big singles match at Wrestle Kingdom. I would love, Gato, if you are listening, Roque, if you are listening, anyone from the New Japan office, please get this man Ishii some points, get him to the finals. I need to see this Naito Ishii G1 final. I need to see this Ibushi Ishii G1 final. Whatever you got to do, whatever it's got to be, give it to me. Whatever it takes. I need it. I want it.
We had a question from Reddit user Jai Bryan. He says, "Does Taichi have a death wish? Why would anyone want to call out Ishii?"
I don't have a rational answer for you. The only thing I can say is that something seems to be up, because it doesn't seem like he would ever actually challenge Ishii. It's like somebody forced him into it, like somebody predetermined or pre-scripted this. Something seems not to be right, because no rational man in his right mind would challenge Ishii for a title shot. One thing though, if we're just talking about storylines, maybe he's got something special in mind for Ishii. Maybe he is the thinking man's champion after all. Maybe he's got a game plan in place that we don't know about.
Yeah. So,
but I want Ishii to win the Never belt again.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
I don't care what belt it is. You put a belt on this man.
Belt him up.
Belt him up.
All right, so now we move on to the main event of the evening, the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Kazuchika Okada defends the title against the Cold Skull Sonata. And I think the first thing we got to talk about is Sonata's appearance.
Yes.
Whoa.
This was TNA Seiya Sonata.
Yes, Seiya Sonata.
This was Wrestle One.
Yeah, Wrestle One, Seiya Sonata.
This was Ace Seiya Sonata. He came out dressed up like the Ace of Wrestle One, like the X Division champion that he has always been.
Yeah.
Shout out to Caleb Baldwin, TNA.
And our good friend Amy, new Social Suplex member, she popped huge for Sonata's beard being trimmed up. Remember, she had a big thing about that of Sonata's beard, and
she's not alone. That's the entire wrestling community.
Yeah.
The one thing that all members of the wrestling community can agree on, whether you are a Fed defense squatter, an Inokiist, whether you are a traditionalist, whether you are a Puro defense squatter, a Gato defense squatter, whether you're a CMLL defense squatter, I don't care what your take in wrestling is. We all hate that mangy, crappy beard. It's the one thing that unites all wrestling fans across the board. It is truly the thing that crosses all dividing lines and unites us. And I think unanimously, the wrestling world rejoiced to see this beard trimmed up.
Yes, beard was trimmed up. The mohawk was down and combed over.
Yeah.
Fresh dye job.
I do still have a problem with him dyeing the beard, but that's a matter for a different day and different time. Beggars can't be choosers, and yeah, he's still dyeing the beard, which is terrible, but he did groom up, which is kind of nice. It just makes me wonder, though, if you should be doing this all the time, why aren't you doing this all the time, Seiya?
And I'm
going to be calling him Seiya from now on, because that's who he is.
X Division Seiya. But big story going into this match is the fact that Sonata is 0-5 in singles matches against Okada, and so it has kind of rivalry going, but Sonata has never been able to beat Okada.
Do you think, before we discuss the match, do you think Sonata coming out with the old school look, which I think will probably just be a one-off, do you think that he came off looking to you like a star? Or do you think it was kind of gimmicky? What was your thought on it? What did you think?
I don't know. I'm kind of in between. I kind of thought it was cool because I've seen him like that when he was in TNA doing the X Division. So I thought that was kind of a cool little flashback moment. I don't know, man. I don't think it was super gimmicky, but at the same time, I don't think it's gonna really push him towards the top either.
That's kind of what I was wondering, because I think we all agree it was a cool throwback, which was nice. But the question has remained for a while now: when are they going to push this guy? When is he going to step into his full potential and kind of break out? Everyone's wondering, and I did have that thought: is this look right? And obviously, again, I understand it's a one-off. But did he come off looking like a true star in that moment, or was this just something kind of nice and kind of cool? And I was wondering what other people's opinions were on that.
Yeah,
because I wasn't sure.
We'll get to it in a second. We have a lot of questions about Sonata after this match. But I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but I thought this match was just, I don't want to say just okay, but I wasn't in love with it.
I wasn't either.
I
agree with you.
I give it 4 stars flat. It's
the gentleman's 4.
Yeah, a gentleman's 4, a friendly 4. Yeah, I mean,
what's funny about 4 stars? I'm a big fan of 80s wrestling, obviously, and I've done a lot of 80s rewatching projects, and anytime I'm scouring the internet for recommended matches, if I would see a 4-star match from say 81, I'm like, oh my god, I've got to watch that. I have to see it, because something like that is so rare. But nowadays it's ain't nobody got time for 4 stars.
Exactly.
No, but actually I don't want to bury this match too much. I actually thought this was a good main event, but it does fall under the lofty standards that we've become accustomed to when it comes to Okada main event title matches on big shows. And I think it fell quite a bit short of the recent matches that Okada and Sonata have had, whether it was their big match last year or the match they had at the New Japan Cup this past year as well.
Yeah, the New Japan Cup final match I enjoyed way better. I was 4.5 on that match.
I agree.
But this match here, I just don't know what it was. I mean, they had
a lot of time.
A lot of time.
They almost went 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was a long match. Slow pace. At one point, it seemed like maybe they were going to go 60-minute draw for the pacing of the match they were doing.
I never thought that thought never came into my mind. It's not something I like to think about. When we watched that Jay Lethal and Taven match, and when it dawned on me they're going 60, I was like, ugh. But this was a slower pace. That's not to say that the wrestling wasn't performed well, because they were definitely wrestling well, but it was definitely very slowed down, very methodical, a lot of limb work early on, a lot of grappling and, kind of fighting for positions and that sort of thing, which has its place in time, but I just think the pacing was a little wonky early on in this match.
Yeah. And I'm very curious to see how this one is going to be rated by critics and fans, because like I mentioned, Rich was over here and I was showing him some of the stuff from Dontaku. So this is my second time when I watched it back, and he was watching it and he was like, man, I'm so happy to have, Okada back in the main events, and I love this match.
He loved the match?
Yeah, he loved the match. And I was like, I didn't really say anything, but in my head I was like,
You know what this match had me thinking? I miss Jay White. I said to myself, this is not Jay White's pro wrestling. That man was having consistent 4.5-star matches. No, I'm just playing, obviously. I did think this match was good. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was very good.
It was good, but I was expecting great.
For what they've been able to deliver on in the past, and I've gone on record and said how much I enjoyed their even though I think I'm in the minority here, I really enjoyed their title match last year. Where was that? It was early on in the year. It was New Beginning.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed their New Beginning match. I think more so than most people. But, you know, given the fact that we're a year apart and the great build and the interactions we've seen between these guys and all these multi-man matches, I did expect something a little more high octane. And you know what? I think some of the blame, and I know it's almost like blasphemous to say this, I think some of the blame goes on Okada. Okada matches have become, over the past however many years, and it's not a strong criticism, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Okada is one of my top favorite wrestlers of all time, but there is a formula. Just like a lot of great wrestlers have their formulas, we kind of know what we're getting out of a big Okada match, and there's an expectation of it to go a long time. There's an expectation for it to be built in a certain manner and to have a certain kind of close and drama to it. And sometimes when you're aiming to do that all the time, you can kind of get lost in the shuffle, especially if you don't have the right dance partner. And this kind of felt like they were aiming for too much and they didn't simplify this match enough. They didn't get right down to it. And, you know, I just feel like the pacing was off a bit.
Yeah.
But I do wonder how many people that are listening to this right now disagree with us and like loved it, because I haven't heard a lot. Obviously I'm not on Twitter like you are. I don't know what the general consensus is, but from what I've listened to and what I've read, I haven't seen a lot of match reviewers or a lot of opinions where people are like, this was, you know, fantastic. It seems to be a consensus from what I've seen where people are like, this was pretty good.
Yeah, and the average for the rating on Grapple, the Grapple app, is 3.95.
So that's like literally 4 stars.
Yeah, so it seems like, you know, at least the majority of the people who use Grapple are kind of in our camp, weren't really digging this match like some other people might.
Very, very, very interesting. I'm going to look up the cage match reviewers and see what they said about this.
Yeah, but you know, in this match, obviously there was Sonata was working the skull end, and there was a really long spot where Sonata had him in the skull end, and Sonata would Okada would pop his head out because he really didn't have the skull end locked in properly like he should around the neck, so he was able to kind of pop his head out.
Did you notice, though, that he's been applying it way stronger than he had in the past?
Yes, yeah. There's been a lot of times in the Road 2 shows on some of these other matches, he was locking it in tighter.
The general consensus on cage match is 7.42, which is out of 10. So that's even falling short of an 8, which would essentially be a 4. So even on there, the consensus is, you know, not in line with what big Okada matches tend to be.
Yeah.
But I will say this, though. Even though they had a slow start, they did bring the crowd back into it later on in the match, and they still had a great close.
Yeah, I mean, Sonata and Okada are super popular. I think a lot of times people kind of underestimate just how popular Sonata is.
Yeah.
And, you know, we talked about the attendance for night 1. Well, here for night 2, last year's night 1 was a sellout. Last year's night 2 was a sellout, and this year's night 2 was also a sellout.
I have a hot take.
Yeah.
Just because we're talking about the popularity of Sonata, and I wanted to kind of ask you what your opinion was on this. So all throughout this tour, we've been watching all these multi-man matches with LIJ, and for over a year and a half, for 75 episodes, we consistently get on the air and we say how this is the most cohesive wrestling unit we've ever seen. These guys put on the best multi-man matches consistently. Do you think that there is a strong case to be made that LIJ might be the best in-ring faction of all time? Because I thought about that while I was watching all these multi-man matches, and it dawned on me. I said, I cannot think of a better multi-man unit that has ever existed. Now, that being said, there's probably some Puro heads here who are like, well, what about, you know, the Do-Hearts or, you know, there's a bunch of like, Dragon Gate is a company that has had super workers with, they're known for their multi-man matches, and so there's a good chance that I don't know enough about that product and I'm probably missing the boat, and there's probably been better. But when I think about, like, you know, all these factions we love and we talk about, you know, the Four Horsemen or the NWO or DX or you know,
or the Shield.
Or the Shield. I don't think anything I've ever seen from any of those guys or any major company, even the Bullet Club, like, is anywhere close to what we've consistently seen out of LIJ.
Yeah.
So not just their popularity, but also the cohesiveness and the action. And I think that's one thing that speaks to the fact that Sonata is so popular. Like, people who maybe aren't as familiar with the Japanese market don't realize that each individual guy is seen as a huge star in Japan, Sonata included. I mean, each guy is literally like a single star and a tag star and a unit star. Like, all of them are over as crap.
Yeah. So towards the end of this match here, Okada ends up hitting the spinning tombstone, falls up by the Rainmaker, gets the win at 38 minutes and 3 seconds. This was the longest match out of their series. Let's dive into some of these questions we have about this match and Sonata.
Okay.
So Reddit user Jai Bryan, he says, how cool did Sonata look in his new gear?
Really cool. Next question.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on that, you know, us, you know, kind of watching Impact and kind of seeing him, kind of a throwback, kind of a nod to Seiya Sonata from Impact. I thought he looked really cool.
I think it looked really cool. I think it was kind of nice for fans who are familiar with his previous, iterations and characters from Wrestle 1 and TNA. I also thought, obviously, I think the majority of fans, reasonably, the consensus was that he had no chance of beating Okada here on this particular evening. So to do some, you know, we always talk about when guys are going to win titles or have big moments that they, you know, maybe they'll bring out a band to introduce them, or maybe they'll wear all white or do something special. So I think adding that little element to the opening of this match kind of caused, I know for me, it gave me pause for a moment where I was like, oh, wait, what?
Yeah, like maybe he's going to win.
Maybe he's going to win, and I think that was effective.
Yeah. Next question from Reddit user Asai Yojimbo. He says, what is your opinion on the rivalry, in quotes, between Sonata and Okada? Do you think Sonata will one day emerge as a top guy in New Japan worthy of unseating the Rainmaker?
Well, at this point, Sonata falls to 0-6 against Okada. And I believe at the end of the match, he called Okada his great rival, right?
Okada called Sonata his great rival.
Okay, gotcha.
Somebody that is his age.
Yeah, so they're similar age, and he called him a great rival. And I think some people scoff at that, obviously, because Okada's been nothing if not dominant when it comes to this series. Mm-hmm. But, you know, the question has been arising for a long time from fans, like, we talked about it, when is Sonata going to break out? And I think they are laying the groundwork for the potential that at some point Sonata needs to get some sort of victory over Okada, whether that be in a tournament match like a G1 or a New Japan Cup, or whether that be for the title. Now, whether they actually go that way and do it is yet to be seen. And I actually got to tell you, I don't have strong confidence at this point today that they ever will do that. But if they decide to, they have laid the groundwork for a story that is still to be told.
Right, yeah. Yeah, definitely it's kind of setting up the foundation for that story and that push. Yeah, you know, the fact that Okada, you know, calls him one of his greatest rivals is kind of very interesting. And I feel, to me, I kind of see it almost as like an anime in which, like, Okada is like this, you know, super powerful guy. And Sonata's a guy that wants to beat him. And every time he gets a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer, but eventually gets defeated. And then eventually, I think, you know, Sonata will get to that, like, next level to where he can finally beat Okada.
So what you're telling me is that Okada is Goku and Sonata is Vegeta, and he needs to go Majin to be able to beat this man.
Yes. Can you tell I've been watching a lot of Dragon Ball lately?
Have you been?
Well, I've been watching Dragon Ball Super.
Lately?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's right. I watched an episode with you.
Yeah.
We need to talk about it afterwards. Who's winning this tournament is what I need to know.
Yeah, the Tournament of Power.
The Tournament of Power. Which universe is going to survive?
Yeah, so do you think he's worthy of unseating the Rainmaker?
Well, nobody is worthy of unseating the Rainmaker. You have to be lucky to unseat the Rainmaker.
Yeah.
That remains yet to be seen. And like I said, my thoughts on it right now is I don't know that they ever go with Sonata. Personally, I don't know that they ever do that. If they decide to do that, my thought is, and I could be wrong here, maybe I'm rocking the boat too much, but I almost feel like he needs to break off from LIJ to become his own man if he's ever going to be elevated to that next level.
It's an interesting take there.
Do you agree, or do you think that there's room for him to be a top guy and an ace in a company or in a group that's full of top guys and aces?
Yeah. I feel he can definitely succeed as being an LIJ. I could see him being like an IC champion. I could see him getting to like a Shinsuke Nakamura level.
But I mean specifically like
to be the ace.
Yeah, to be the IWGP champion.
That would be a weird dynamic if he's a champion and still kind of under Naito. So yeah, I think potentially to get him there, he needs to break off.
Or do you think that there's room for them to potentially have multiple top guys in the same group and still keep that group alive, keep that merch money rolling, and maybe even have faction matches? Maybe him and Naito fight over the title, but I gotta tell you, I think for him to take that next level and be seen as a true superstar, not just in the fans of Japanese fans, but in the eyes of Japanese fans, but also in the eyes of the greater wrestling world, I think he's got to break off. That's my take, anyways.
Yeah. Next question from Reddit user CFC Champions: is Sonata really as good as people say he is, or is he overhyped? His match with Okada didn't really click for me, and while the New Japan Cup final was great, their other match in Osaka last year didn't do much for me either.
I don't think he's overhyped. That's a simple answer. I don't think he's overhyped. I can see what you're saying. In a vacuum, if you just look at, a couple matches of his and maybe they don't live up to your expectations, it would be easy to say, this guy is overhyped. But you could do that with Okada here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You can do that with anybody. You can take a small sample of the body of their work and say, oh, okay, they had a couple matches that disappointed. They're not what we thought they were. But if you've watched Sonata for any length of time, and maybe your opinion is different than mine, he's been nothing but excellent. He is a very, very, very talented guy.
Yeah, he's super talented. And I don't feel like he is a guy that is overhyped or overrated. But
do you think that it could be fair to be said that sometimes he is underrated?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I think people underestimate just how popular he is, and they underestimate just how great a wrestler he is. Because a lot of times throughout the year, he's in a tag team with Evil, but even still in tag team action, I mean, they do great work as a tag team and kind of hold that heavyweight tag division down while they're competing in it.
Sonata's great.
But I do agree with you, CFC, about this match not clicking. It didn't click for you. It didn't really click for me either.
I agree with this match being that way. I liked their match last year, though, personally.
Yeah. Next question from our boy NJPWEXT, our boy Danny behind the New Japan extension.
What up, Danny?
He says, what is the single worst move in all of NJPW, and why is it Sonata's Paradise Lock? Am I the only one that finds it unacceptably immersion breaking?
Before we answer this question, am I wrong in misquoting Danny and saying that he said to us before that we were his favorite New Japan podcast?
He did say that, yeah.
That is such a compliment and an honor coming from the man who designed the NJPW extension. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we ran into him at New York after MSG.
I was somewhere else. I was having quite a night. But yeah, I think I've said on the air before, and just thinking off the top of my head, I think my least favorite move in New Japan is the Paradise Lock.
Yeah, for me, I get it.
Yeah.
It's part of the gimmick, something he does it doesn't really bother me. For me, it's one of those, ha-ha kind of things, I'm in on the joke, he does it. It doesn't really bother me. the skull end actually bothers me more than the Paradise Lock when he doesn't lock it in properly.
I agree. Well, no, I don't agree with what you just said, but I agree with you in the fact that if you're going to lock in the skull end, you need to lock it in like a Dragon Sleeper. Now, he has been, so I'm assuming that Sonata's been listening to our takes and been somehow it's getting relayed to him that we are criticizing the move, and he's been locking it up because of what we've said. So you're welcome, Sonata. But in no way could I possibly say that the skull end is a worse move than the Paradise Lock.
No, in theory, the skull end is a better move, but when he doesn't lock it in properly, I'm just like, I guess.
Now, I know for you, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I think your least loved and the most hated move that anyone does in New Japan is Yoshihashi's Butterfly Lock. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh, yes. That thing is freaking horrible. My God.
Jeremy's face right now. Just the utter disdain, the utter disgust, the hate, the vitriol. My God.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah, Yoshihashi's Butterfly Lock is the worst.
It's really, really bad. And I'm trying to think of other moves I don't like in New Japan. I think that's probably one of the most hated. But with that being said, I really hate the Paradise Lock. Now, I think the Paradise Lock has a good time and place. Like, I liked it during the Yano match during G1 last year, but it's a comedy move. Yeah. And it's like, anything can get over with anybody. I mean, one of the biggest stars in the history of wrestling, The Rock, did the People's Elbow, and I'll never forget Mick Foley cutting the promo, "I will not sell the elbow. I will not sell it here. I will not sell it there." And which was always popped me because they're using such insider terms. But with that being said, I really think it's one of those things where it's like, could he be a top guy and get over the Paradise Lock? Well, sure. I mean, anybody can get anything over. But I really hate watching it because it doesn't make very much logical sense at all. There's no reason that folding someone's legs over someone else's arms is going to keep them in a lock that they can't get out of. I like the old move where guys would get tied up in a ball and then couldn't get out and then they end up rolling around the ring. Yeah. That's kind of like a funny spot. But these are like lower mid-card comedy act spots that like they've got their place but not in the main event. And I don't know if I really like that move at all. It's one of the moves I hate the most in Japanese wrestling. So I agree with you, Danny. I'm right there with you. It does not make sense.
Yeah, I mean, like especially I guess in a serious title match, it kind of throw you off.
It's like this: if the guy's in a Paradise Lock and he really can't move, why don't you just drop a giant knee on his neck and kill him? You know what I'm saying? Like, or why don't you just like go on the other end and put him in a front face lock and choke him unconscious? Like you can do anything to him at that point. Yeah. But instead you're gonna kick him in the butt because that's what the spot calls for. And I get it. It's what's his name?
Milano
Collection AT's move. It gets a big pop because of the history, but I hate it. I hate it. I do hate it more than the Butterfly Lock.
Oh man,
it's awful.
Next question from Dom Homie 101. He says, "Do you guys think there's a chance of NJPW bringing in the Great Muta to do something with Sonata and LIJ?"
Not likely.
Yeah, I feel like we got that kind of one-off appearance in the Honor Rumble, but yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing Muta in New Japan anytime soon. I guess maybe if they do like a Rambo this year, maybe he'll pop up in that, but I don't think they'll bring him in for anything with Sonata or LIJ.
All I know is that man retired twice and he's still out here getting paydays. This man's on Terry Funk status right now.
Next question from Rambone Slam Pig. He says, "What did you guys think about that Night 2 main event? Do you see it as a step forward for Sonata standing in the company as a credible star?"
I do, actually. Even though we have criticisms of the overall match, ultimately, I think he was shown to be a credible challenger. I thought he looked more credible in this match than any other match he's had with Okada. And even though it wasn't my favorite match of theirs, I thought he looked very credible and came off as having a good accounting of himself. I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, and I mean, this was a big show. Wrestling Dontaku was a pretty big show. It was a sellout with him advertised in the main event, so it shows you that he can draw in a big title match main event. Shows you how popular it is, that he's a credible star. He's somebody that they can count on in the future for main events on different tours.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it elevated his stock in that case.
I agree.
Next question from our boy Muzza. He says, do you think Sonata could be eventually IWGP Heavyweight Champion?
He could, but, I mean, what, they're in their early 30s? 31, 32, something like that?
Something like that, I believe, yeah.
So it's possible, but I think many of the topics and suggestions that we have talked about earlier in the show still apply here. Right now, if you had to give me... And actually, let me ask you before I give an answer. Yes or no, do you think that do you think it's more likely or less likely that he ever wins that title?
I think it's less likely.
I agree. Right now, I think it is less likely that he ever wins an IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Could it happen? Absolutely, but there's a whole list of guys in my mind that have never held the belt that are more likely to win it between now and then, and nothing's promised in the wrestling industry. I think it's less likely, especially with the fact that Sonata's not signed to an exclusive full-time contract with New Japan. He is technically a freelancer.
Yeah, and it's one of the things too with the way they protected the IWGP title. Not everybody gets a turn. Not everybody gets to be champion. There will be some great wrestlers who will retire and not be the IWGP champion.
Do you think in 7 years we get this Kofi Kingston run out of Seiya Sonata? It's going to do it for the culture.
Oh, man. So, after this successful defense by Okada, he's celebrating his victory. Lights go out, video starts playing, and it is Jericho. Break the walls down! The Pain Maker, as he's calling himself now. So we get a video from the Pain Maker, Chris Jericho, saying he's coming to challenge for the IWGP Championship at Dominion. He says he's going to win. He's going to win. He's going to win!
Couple things. This video package, which did interrupt Okada's post-match, statements and promo, I liked it better than the creepy promo videos that we were getting from Bray Wyatt in WWE.
Yeah, I think in our group thread, I was like, creepy Jericho videos are greater than creepy Bray Wyatt videos.
Which, by the way, I kind of actually like the Bray Wyatt videos.
I like the early Wyatt family stuff, but I don't know. Like, I've just never been a huge fan of Bray Wyatt in general. But
I mean, I'm not either, but I kind of think it's interesting what they're doing. I think it's really creepy and really weird stuff.
Oh, you're talking about the stuff now?
Yeah.
Oh, the Funhouse stuff?
I think the Funhouse stuff is interesting. It's either going to be a huge thing or it's going to be a huge failure, one or the other. Yeah. But beyond that, I'm going to do this real quick, and this is a first for our show. I am going to take my official Jostradamus victory lap. One moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, the young boy is actually running around the table right now, and don't worry, young boy. I warned the Twitter followers that this was coming, and several of them responded with the rolling eyes emoji. They knew that you were going to put yourself over, that you were going to take this victory lap. So go ahead.
I took my victory lap.
Anything else? You want to get it out? You want to put yourself over? That you got it right?
I want names of those who rolled their eyes. That's what I want.
Oh, man.
Listen, I'm not going to put myself over. It's fine. There's every likelihood. There's a million reasons why it might not have been Jericho and why this could hypothetically not have worked out this way. But I felt it in my gut. I felt it in my bones. And I had the vision, as we like to say on this show. And this is the most marketable and attainable, reasonable match that they could have possibly done. It made all the sense in the world to me. And I was so happy to find out that they actually were going to go this way, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it too. I think it was a great way to go. Just give us something special, something unique, something different for this title reign for Okada and for Dominion. That's a big must-see match for a big pay-per-view. That's going to definitely help draw.
And this is, 2 weeks after Double or Nothing?
Yeah, 2 weeks after Double or Nothing. So he's going to face Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing, and then he'll face Okada.
I think he's beating Kenny.
Yeah, I think he's beating Kenny too. Especially to set this matchup. I think it makes all sense. You beat the former IWGP champion, Kenny Omega, then you go into Dominion to face the current champion.
So is this going to be the de facto AEW champion? The lineal AEW champion taking on the IWGP champion?
Yeah,
we better not say that on the air, because we might need to cut that out of this episode, because that might lead them to change their mind about the booking decisions.
Yeah, Jericho and Omega, they popped up at an indie show in Georgia.
Like one day before this, right?
Yeah, actually, now friends of the show, Megan and Rachel and those girls from Georgia, they were at that at the show.
The Georgia crew.
Yeah,
our Bulldog crew.
Yeah, our Bulldog crew. They were out at the show. And got to see the Omega and Jericho angle, kind of heating that up. So, very curious to see, what they're going to go with Jericho here.
We don't have a lot of questions about this.
Just one question from Reddit user.
I'm surprised.
Eater of Bread. Do you think we'll see much of Jericho before Dominion to build a storyline for his match with Okada? Is there a chance for him winning the championship?
Okay, so let's think about it. Dominion is in early June, right?
Yes, June 9th.
So the only big show between now and then is Best Super Junior Finals?
Yeah, June 5th.
June 5th, and then June 9th is
Dominion.
So it's like a few days after?
Yeah.
I always forget. It always is, isn't
it?
If he, that's probably where he'll make his appearance. He'll probably show up at Best of the Super Juniors. It's a few days before. It's shortly after his match at Double or Nothing. I don't think we're going to see much of him. If we get anything, it's probably going to be built over social media. It's probably going to be built with video packages. And then he will probably make some sort of appearance, whether it's advertised or a surprise, during the Best Super Juniors finals. I wouldn't be surprised to see either some sort of press conference altercation between them, or even a surprise attack or run-in during, let's say, a tag match at Best Super Juniors finals.
Yeah.
That's very reasonable. It's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to Kevin Crawford, who's part of that Georgia crew, posting up some pics and videos on the gram and Twitter on the Jericho Omega stuff.
When you found out that Jericho was going to be the next challenger and you knew that I had accurately predicted this turn of events, what was your thoughts in terms of me as being like your co-host, and in terms of me being an accurate predictor? Like, what were your initial thoughts and reactions?
Well, first of all, we gotta kind of bury Rich Latta for a second, because he infected the thread with spoilers.
Bro, our thread's supposed to be a safe haven and a place of refuge, and it's filled with landmines and filled with spoilers. My God.
It's funny, I woke up that morning, I was like, you know what, I should be pretty safe.
No one's had time to even watch the show yet, Rich.
I'll stay off Twitter. I'll be off Facebook. I'll leave the messenger thread. It should be fine. Then Rich sends like a tweet from NJPW. I didn't click on it. I'm like, oh, I'm not clicking on that. But then he follows up with, oh, Josh got it right. I was like, damn it, I know exactly what he's talking about.
He's like, shout out to my dog, Josh Stradomus.
Yeah. But yeah, congratulations.
Thanks.
On getting that prediction right. You get the big ones.
I do, man.
You got the 6-star
yes,
match rating correct.
That's why people tune into this show.
Your show, right?
Yeah, if you guys didn't hear me on NXT Then Now and Forever, he was like, you're a co-host with Jeremy. I was like, no, I am the host of Keepin It Strong Style. Jeremy is featured as my co-host. Burying you.
Yeah.
Burying you in these streets. Before we move on, let's discuss this, because I'm not on Twitter a lot, but I did see IWC outrage at the double standard and the inconsistencies about people who would praise a part-timer who had won no matches to warrant an immediate title shot like Chris Jericho, but those same fans turn around and bury the likes of Batista and Triple H and Undertaker and any number and Brock Lesnar and any number of part-timers from WWE who are in quote-unquote similar situations. And so let's talk about it, because this seemed to be a Fed Defense Squad point of outrage and point of just anger.
Yeah, the heroes of the Fed Defense Squad, they came out in full force to defend the WWE part-timers.
And if you're going to be upset about those part-timers, then why aren't you mad about Jericho coming in and getting an immediate title shot?
Here's what I'll say.
I've got some thoughts too.
It's a totally different scenario. In New Japan Pro Wrestling, you don't have this influx of part-timers that are coming in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
In recent years, you've had Jericho. And when he's coming in for a big match, and he's not working another part-timer. You're not getting Chris Jericho versus Tenzan. You're not getting Chris Jericho versus Nakanishi or some other old-timer or part-timer that can't go. You're getting a fresh dream match. You're getting Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega. You're getting Chris Jericho versus Naito. Now you're getting Chris Jericho versus Chris Jericho versus Okada. So you're getting big, fresh matchups. In WWE, you get a card that's full of part-timers. You look at WrestleMania over the last few years, you get cards full of part-timers, and most of the time, those part-timers are going against each other, and those part-timers are washed, and they're just making a joke of themselves and not putting out a good performance. And then the few part-timers that are wrestling up-and-coming talent, most of the time, they are beating your up-and-coming talent. For example, Brock Lesnar beating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 33. So there's definitely a lot of just different booking philosophies in the way both these companies handle part-timers and bring them in.
Yes, I agree with everything you've said. I've got a couple things to add to that. Okay, one, when part-timers are having these matches in WWE, now I know that there's a different standard of work rate and a different standard of match quality, and maybe to people who are fans of WWE, that's less important to the quote-unquote stories.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, I can't think of the last time Triple H came in and had a match quality to the level that Jericho's having. I can't think of the last time.
WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan. Since then...
Yeah, well, I could have if off the top of my head, but I'm just saying for the effects of what I'm saying.
My bad.
No, you're fine. Because we could go back and name most of these guys. I'm going to say the same thing about Undertaker, and we could recall his last great match, probably Punk, but like it's a long time ago.
Yeah,
a long time ago. Same thing with Triple H. Same thing with Batista. Now Brock Lesnar's a little bit different, but for the most part, there's been plenty of people who've criticized his, reigns.
Yeah, his match, they just get formulaic.
Same thing with Bill Goldberg. Same thing with any number of part-timers that have been brought back and dredged up. The other thing is they do it all the time, especially on big shows. And none of these guys are having match quality to the level that Chris Jericho has. Okay, that's one part. Number two, in New Japan, and it might be a criticism, it might be a little bit of a logical fallacy, but it is not unheard of for somebody who didn't necessarily earn, quote unquote, even though wins and losses matter, and they have plenty of different ways to establish champions, whether it be winning a number one contender match, whether it be winning a tournament to earn your title shot, or to pin the champion in a tag multi-man match. Those are all valid ways that people get title shots. Another way people get title shots sometimes is just show up and call out the champion and create a personal feud which seems to be what has happened in this case. We're used to that. That is the part of the booking philosophy of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And again, it doesn't happen all the time. It happens once in a while. People are used to it. And if you are a big enough star to be able to do that, it's not like it happens every month or multiple times a year. It's like once or twice a year that it really happens.
And when it happens, it's great.
It is great. And the matches are great. The other thing, too, is that, like you said, Jericho's not coming in and wrestling a bunch of guys that he has wrestled time and time again. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of these names that we've mentioned are guys who come in and they're only willing to work with guys that they've worked with before. You know, Undertaker's not coming in and putting over AJ Styles. He's not coming in and putting over a Ricochet. You know, you're not seeing Triple H come in, and not to say that those guys haven't done stuff for the industry or given back or whatever, but at this point in time, that's not what you're getting. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's what Jericho's doing. Jericho is giving us fresh matchups with guys that he's never wrestled before. He is keeping himself relevant and in the limelight to a point to where he is probably a bigger star than those guys. Maybe not in actuality, in the sense that they're part of a bigger company and they've got more people who know who they are. So I'm not trying to be ridiculous in what I'm saying. But relatively speaking, he's the biggest outside star that is coming into New Japan Pro Wrestling. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's wrestling other big stars and he's elevating them. And that's not what those guys are doing at all. They're actually taking up spots of younger guys who probably deserve to be where those guys once were. Jericho's not coming in as a nostalgia act. He's not a nostalgia act.
Right.
Number 3, you have to hearken back to the philosophy of one Paul Heyman, who has always said that in a wrestling company, there is plenty of room to have one older, aging star to come in and add his influence, his star power, his name value, his experience, and to put over younger talent and show them the way. That's what Jericho is. That's not what, you know, now if they were bringing in Batista, Brock Lesnar, Bill Goldberg, The Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, then we'd have a problem. But that's not what's happening here. We've got one guy, one relevant, great wrestler who's coming in, putting on great stories, having great matches. It is not the same thing. And you would know it if you were watching the freaking product. But you're not. You're sitting on Twitter looking for reasons to complain about some crap that you don't even watch, man. And when I say man, I'm talking to all of you who have this take. It's really an idiotic take. There's some things that I see people who are like quote unquote Fed Defense Squad or say where I'm like, well, there's some validity to that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is one where you are completely wrong. Like, you are dead wrong when you say this. You're just butthurt because this guy's going over and helping make a new company and coming over to New Japan and helping build them up and build stars. And, like, you can't handle it.
Right.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Those are my, like, 3 big takes. That, A, this guy is the one and only guy who's doing this in the whole company. Number 2, he's putting on amazing matches and amazing stories. And then number 3, you know, he is, well, I guess those are all my points.
And dude, you nailed those points. I agree with you 100%. And it's just.
Oh, and they're all fresh matchups. That's my third point. He's putting over younger talent, and he's coming in and he's elevating the product and putting over new guys.
Yeah, and you know, people are like, oh, well, he beat Naito, but guess what? Who won the feud? Naito.
Yeah, he put over Naito. He helped build and make Naito a bigger star. So that wraps up our Wrestling Dontaku review. I got one last question for you regarding this.
Yeah.
Any chance?
There was a part of the question that we didn't answer.
Okay.
He says, do we think that there's a chance of Jericho beating Okada?
Part of me says Gato's crazy enough to do that. We didn't think he was going to beat Naito for the title.
Yeah.
But in actuality, I really don't think that's a likely scenario with the G1 right around the corner.
And I think AEW throws a wrinkle in that too.
That's the other thing as well. I think Jericho's coming in because this is a match he's always wanted. I think it's a match New Japan has always wanted. It's a match the fans have always wanted. And it's a match where Jericho can take the loss, obviously, it's the second biggest show of the year. Maybe with this matchup, it might wind up being the biggest show of the year. In all honesty, business wise, I don't know. And I think it's highly, highly unlikely that Jericho's winning the belt.
Yeah, I think it's very unlikely as well. I mean, there's always a chance, but I feel like there's a little bit too much politics involved with having Jericho win the belt.
That's what my next question for you was going to be before we move on to questions. Any chance that this is an indication that the relationship between AEW and New Japan is starting to soften, or that it could create inroads to where there could be a working relationship between them? And how does that play into Ring of Honor?
I don't think it's really softened anything between New Japan and AEW. When Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega designed their AEW contracts, it was written in their contracts for those two guys in particular to be allowed to work for New Japan Pro Wrestling if New Japan wanted to use those guys. So that's a special situation for Jericho and Omega. We're finally seeing them act on that clause and using Jericho right now. So I really don't think that kind of does anything for the New Japan AEW relationship right now. Now, for New Japan, they might see, having Jericho in the main event at Dominion is a big success for them. Subscription numbers go up. That might make them want to act on the Kenny clause, and then that might have them thinking maybe we can contact some of these elite guys and try and get that clause in their contracts as well to use some of those guys on their big shows for New Japan.
That's a good answer.
But I'm not, again, I don't, a lot of people after G1 Supercard, they want the Ring of Honor relationship to be over with. I don't think New Japan's going to cut things off so quickly. I still think they're going to work with Ring of Honor. We got the War of the Worlds tour coming up. There's going to be a lot of co-promoted Ring of Honor New Japan stuff the rest of this year. As much as I am hyped for AEW, they have not had their first show yet. Their distribution model has not been announced yet. From a New Japan side, New Japan is a very conservative company. They're going to play it safe. They're going to continue to work with Ring of Honor until they see the full-out game plan of what exactly AEW is. And we also got to remember that AEW is working with companies that New Japan typically wouldn't work with either. So that could cause some hesitancy with wanting to start something up with AEW.
Great answer. We'll keep monitoring this situation as it unfolds. I do hope down the line, just out of pure selfishness, that this does develop into some sort of working relationship.
Yeah, same here.
I would love that, but yeah, we will keep up on this story as time goes on.
All right, now we have a bunch of off-topic questions that we'll run through.
I love it.
First question, emailed in from my man Joel. Ran to him at Shimmer at New York WrestleMania weekend. He says, keep up the good work. His question is, what are the 3 matches you are most hopeful to see at Best of the Super Juniors?
Ooh, I wasn't ready for this question. I don't even have the comparison for me. I mean, okay, number 1 for me is Shingo and Will Ospreay.
Okay, I'm right there with you. That's my number 1 also.
After that, I don't know. I have to look at the competitors.
I would say Shingo and Sho.
That's one I'm very much anticipating.
I don't know if they're going to be the same block. What about Dragon Lee Bandito?
Ooh, everybody in Bandito. Everybody in Bandito.
Everybody in Shingo.
Pretty much. I'm really looking forward to Jonathan Gresham being in the tournament. But I don't know who I'm excited to see him wrestle necessarily because of his unique style.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's a tough question. That's a really okay. I'll throw out a couple matches that I would be excited to see. I don't know if they will happen. Shingo and Will Ospreay is number 1. Number 2, I really would like to see Bandito and Dragon Lee. That I feel like that would be
that's flame written all over it.
Yeah. And then number 3, I'll throw out, I think Bandito and Shingo would be really good.
Oh yeah.
But there's so many potential matchups that I'm just like, wow. I mean, everything would be great. I would love to see Bandito and Will Ospreay again.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many great match potentials. And, next week we'll give our full preview of that tournament. And by then the block announcement should be out. We'll be able to break down the blocks, break down all the competitors, and give you guys our predictions of where we think the tournament's going.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
So next question comes from friend of the show, Dan Coffin.
Our boy Dan.
Yes, he attends the Largo Loop with us.
Largo Loop.
He says, I've listened to the show the past several weeks, even though I'm a noob as far as NJPW. The enthusiasm you and Josh have for their product is infectious, so I want to get more into it, but I feel intimidated by the sheer size of history involved with NJPW and its effects on matches and storylines. I liken it to someone being caught up in the hype for Endgame recently and not knowing anything about Marvel. Where would you suggest someone like me start? Is there any homework I need to do, like a list of must-watch matches or feuds, or would you suggest just getting a sub to their app and jumping right in?
That is a very loaded question and a great question. Jeremy, what are your takes first and foremost? Being that your knowledge of the history of New Japan is a little more limited than mine.
Yeah, so Dan, I'm kind of was in a similar position with you when I started doing this show. I was
and you'd been watching since what? Since like Wrestle Kingdom 9?
9, but I was casual though, and I was only hopping in for I was kind of like on the James Boyd, where I was just hopping in
the cherry picker for
the big matches, big shows. But then when we started doing this show, I started watching every Road to show, every pay-per-view. And honestly, Dan, I think the easiest thing to do, honestly, is just to jump right in. I mean, we can give you a list of recommended matches and rivalries and feuds to know, but honestly, I think the best thing for you to do is, sign up for New Japan World. We got Best of Super Junior tournament coming in. I think that's a great starting point. And, right now, Dan, there's a lot of advantages for people watching New Japan now that I didn't really have quite at the beginning. I mean, right now, pretty much I would say 95% of all New Japan shows have English commentary. So you have the great work of Kevin Kelly and Rocky Romero, sometimes Don Callis, sometimes Chris Charlton, who are giving you the stories and guiding you on what's going on. You have the post-match promos that they upload to their English YouTube channels that have the English subtitles, and they usually kind of let you know what's going on, and you can kind of pick up on characters and rivalries from there. Plus, there's a lot of great new English content they're putting out, like The Recount and The Wire, that kind of gives you the history on factions and wrestlers and rivalries. They're doing a lot of stuff on their English Twitter as well. So there's just a lot of great ways for English fans to kind of jump in and get involved. And of course, you have the ace of podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style, that's going to preview, review, break down, and give you the backstories and review on stuff. Josh is very knowledgeable on the history of New Japan, and very lucky to have him to co-host for that aspect. So we're going to give you history here and reviews and previews and help guide people.
One thing I think that helps people is watching the big shows. As far as a jumping in point, I think that if you're new to the product and you're just trying to get started, there's nothing wrong with just jumping in right where we're at right now. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you're like, I'd like to get a little bit more of a back history on some of this stuff, then it might not be a bad idea to start at this past year's Wrestle Kingdom. You don't have to watch every Road to show, and you don't have to watch every minor level show. Maybe just watch the big shows. Maybe just watch the New Beginnings, and maybe just watch, Dontaku and the MSG shows until you get more acclimated. This company definitely rewards you. We've talked about it before by dropping breadcrumbs and giving you storytelling elements on these Road to shows and that sort of thing. But it's not required viewing. You don't have to watch every single episode or every single show. And if you do, maybe in the beginning just look at the reviews of different people out there, whether it's Voices of Wrestling or Dave Meltzer or Larry Kazanka on 411 Wrestling, or looking at Grapple app or Cage Match. These are all fantastic resources to let you know what matches are good. And just watching the title matches on these Road to shows, like the bigger, more established matches, that's one way of viewing things, just kind of cherry picking. But another thing is, like Jeremy mentioned, there's a lot of resources on the internet. One thing that's great is the commentary does a fantastic job giving you some of the history and the backstories. The histories that maybe you're not as familiar with are usually alluded to in the backstage promos and brought up, so that even if you don't know what they're like, for instance, you don't have to have seen Liger and Suzuki's match from Pancrase. All you have to do is be listening to what Kevin Kelly has to say and kind of follow along that way. Also, Chris Charlton online is a great, him, Striga, Mr. Lariato. These are all fantastic contributors on the online community who offer a lot of insight to things that are going on in the storylines current day. And if you really want to get caught up, a lot of the Western fans started at Wrestle Kingdom 9, and maybe it's not a bad idea at some point if you have the time. I don't know what your schedule's like, but if you want to just jump in, just go back and watch the big shows and start from a starting point like Wrestle Kingdom 9 or Wrestle Kingdom 10 or 12. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it's not required for you to enjoy this. It's not like Endgame. Even though that's a good analogy, and I don't totally disagree with you, they don't make it impossible for you to access what is going on in the modern sense. Now, what will help you a lot more is reading up on the differences in New Japan Pro Wrestling, the rule sets, the booking, the logic. There are guides to people getting started with New Japan online, so you don't have to know the whole history of the promotion or the history of the wrestlers, but maybe it's not a bad idea to understand why there's factions and understand some of the nuances of the rule sets and things like that. That's more beneficial, I think, than understanding all the intricate histories.
Yeah, and one last resource, too, you should probably check out our friends over at voicesofwrestling.com. They always do a New Japan Pro Wrestling year-end ebook. Probably grab the 2018 version. They have profiles on all the wrestlers. They have write-ups on the rivalries and big matches. So go ahead and check that out.
Also, you can always hit us up at kistrongstyle.com. If you have questions, we would be happy to answer them. If Jeremy doesn't know, he'll hit me up, and then I'll just tell him what to say, and then we'll send it out, and then Jeremy can take the credit and look smart. One last thing. Even though some of his videos, he hasn't put out a video in a long time, you can't find them on Vimeo or on YouTube anymore, but if you go to dailymotion.com, the videos of Showbuckle. If you look up the Showbuckle videos, he put out amazing content that gives a lot of awesome insight to some of the more recent storylines in the past few years and the Young Lion system and the shooting style of New Japan, stuff like that. And I think that is invaluable and very well worthwhile going to check out. So I highly recommend that.
Next question from Reddit user Jesus Las Vegas. He says, I feel like we're about 3 years away from a massive New Japan roster overhaul where a number of guys simply won't be able to compete anymore. Tenzan, Kojima, Nakanishi, Honma, Tiger Mask, Makabe, Nagata, etc. Where should New Japan look to replenish this talent? These guys sell a lot of tickets. Well, not maybe Tiger Mask, he says.
Well, I think that they're doing a fantastic job building stars right now and building young lions and signing talent, and I'm not at all worried for the day when Tenzan and Nakanishi can no longer go, which is probably not very far off in the near future. And I think they have plenty of guys that are a generation or two beneath them, like Makabe and like Tanahashi, who can kind of step into those roles when the time comes and allow for new stars to be made and to rise up. So I think that they've already got the groundwork laid right now for guys. Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of crazy to think about, but at some point, Tanahashi is going to be going in that New Japan dad role. Like you mentioned, Togi Makabe, Hiroki Goto at some point. These kind of older guys eventually they're all going to get moved up to the New Japan Dad status, which makes room for young lions to come back from excursion and become top stars. Makes room for younger mid-carders like an Ospreay to move up. So
it also would seem very concerning if there was an overnight exodus of all these guys you mentioned, but it's not going to happen that way. It's going to be a slow progression. It's going to be one by one. The same way we lost Isuka this year, and then next year we're losing Liger. These guys are going to slowly step out, and it's going to allow one by one guys to step in. So I'm not worried about it at all, and I think that they, like I said, they have the groundwork already.
Yeah. Next question from Reddit user ABlue3. He says, I saw some people say that Ayato Yoshida is done with NJPW. Why do you think that is?
Well, we didn't talk about this on the show, had we? But we had intended to.
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to two things. And if you have anything to add after this, Jeremy, great. But I think I'll pretty much cover it. Mm-hmm. One thing is that there was a sex scandal within K-Dojo. Taka Michinoku, who was one of the founder of K-Dojo and one of the top brass over there, he had a extramarital affair, which is taken very seriously in Japanese culture, way more so than it is here. He did step down as holding his position with them, and he's no longer with that company, which since that time we haven't seen any sort of Lionsgate project shows, which relied heavily on K-Dojo talent. Mm-hmm. We also haven't seen Yato Yoshida since, when was the last time he was here? Like the New Beginning tour?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Now, that's one thing that might have weakened their relationship since he left them and is now still working with New Japan Pro Wrestling. But the other thing, too, is that Ayato Yoshida's time in New Japan Pro Wrestling might have been treated exclusively like an excursion, because from what I read and what I understand, he is now a top champion in K-Dojo, and it might not be that they have a bad relationship. It might be that they don't want their top champion coming over as a young lion and jobbing to stars, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much the things I've heard as well. So, yeah, nailed it on that one. Next question comes from Reddit user Guilty Watts. He says, I know it's early, but who are your top picks for the G1? I feel like a lot of people want Naito to win and go back to Wrestle Kingdom, but after Dontaku, is it reasonably to say that Sonata or even someone from AEW, more than likely Omega, could be a contender?
Well, my top picks off the top of my head would have to be Omega. I'm sorry. Disregard that. Naito, Ibushi. Those are my top two right off the bat. Jay White is a potential contender. You could hypothetically say an Omega, but I don't think it would make a lot of logical sense unless they really are looking to do big business based off the fact that Omega wins. But he's not a New Japan guy anymore, so it's very unlikely, honestly.
Right. Yeah, I think, if they're bringing Omega in, it's going to be for a one-off kind of thing like they're doing with Jericho.
I could see him go to the finals, though, and lose.
Yeah. But pretty much the same three favorites that you have, Naito, Okada, Jay White, are kind of the three guys that I could see winning it this year. Or it's going to be Naito, Ibushi, and Jay White.
One other guy, and it's not that likely, but one other guy I could think of potentially, maybe, Zack Sabre.
Yeah.
Maybe.
He would be, I would slot him at 4.
And if you really wanted to make a guy, you could do Will Ospreay. But I don't think they're going to do that this year.
Yeah. That's who we're thinking right now, Guilty Watts. Next question from Reddit user Zack Saber Time. He says he's been listening to Chris Charlton's book. He mentioned a financial scandal under Inoki in the 80s that led to the formation of the UWF. Can't really find much on this. Any clue what the financial scandal is? I'm a good 30 years late to this. Young boy, the floor is yours.
Okay, so basically this is what was happening then, and this is a great question, and I'm glad that you asked it because I love shoot-style wrestling, and I love the UWF, especially those early years when it was still hybrid pro wrestling, and they didn't necessarily know, shoot-style hadn't totally been fleshed out yet, so you would see, shoot-style wrestling, but then guys were still hitting pile drivers and tombstones and coming off the top rope occasionally. So it was a very strange time, but it was really great wrestling. Basically what happened with Inoki in the 80s is this. Inoki had another business in Brazil. It was some sort of oil or gas. I think it was like pyroethanol or something like that. And his business over in Brazil was failing. It was not doing well. And so him and the president, I think it was Shinma. You would have to look that up. I might be saying that wrong, but I believe it was Shinma. They were both partners in this business over in Brazil, and they were embezzling lots and lots and lots of money from New Japan Pro Wrestling to try and finance and help make up the losses. They're basically committing fraud. Which, by the way, Inoki's had a lot of financial scandals over the years. This would not be his first or his last. But it became public knowledge what was happening. Somehow the board of trustees found out what was taking place, and it caused a huge rift. Plus, there was a lot of political changes taking place within New Japan at the time. And, you know, a lot of the wrestlers left. Tiger Mask, who was one of the biggest international stars that they had left just a year prior. This is in 84. Tiger Mask had left in 83. And they left to go form the UWF, and guys like Takada were there, and Akira Maeda had to go there after he shoot-kicked Riki Choshu in the face and broke his orbital bone because he didn't feel like he was getting pushed enough. And, a lot of this was built off the back of the scandal that was taking place with Inoki. And they actually ended up taking their TV spot with TV Asahi at the time because TV Asahi didn't want to be associated with the scandal that was very public knowledge at the time. So that's pretty much what happened. But, it wouldn't last long. UWF was successful in the beginning, but they had their own fair share of political issues and, issues with wrestlers. And it ended up being quite a mess, and in 86 all those guys ended up coming back anyways for the most part. So really, really interesting stuff to look into. If you're a Puroresu fan and history fan, I really recommend looking into it.
Next question from Reddit user 141byte. He says, assuming a scenario in which ROH is out of the picture and each option is highly interested in New Japan, which partner would you prefer, NXT or AEW? A few weeks ago, it wouldn't have been a question to me, but the reverence shown for Kushida and his accomplishments in NXT have been impressive. NJPW does have a history of working for WWF back in the day. Potentially relevant or potentially outdated link, since it's from January 2018. He sends a What Culture link titled NJPW Wants a WWE Relationship. I looked at that article. It was from last year, and I think
we talked about that.
Yeah. But kind of back to his question, what would I prefer, NXT or AEW? In today's wrestling climate, I do have a hard time picturing WWE wanting to work with New Japan or New Japan doing something with WWE. So seeing them do something with NXT would be kind of weird. I think there's more likelihood that something would happen with AEW, and I think that would be best for the wrestling business is for New Japan to kind of work with AEW and not really work with WWE and NXT.
To be clear here, when New Japan Pro Wrestling had a working relationship with WWF at the time and also WWF, it wasn't Vince McMahon Jr.'s Pro Wrestling or Sports Entertainment. It was Vince Sr. They weren't working with Junior. Eventually Junior took over, but when Junior took over, that relationship was very short-lived. It ended in 85, basically, right after Hulkamania took over. So, and it's because he went national. Prior to that, their relationship was based off the fact that they were both territories of the NWA. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know this, but WWF was a member and a territory of the NWA. They don't like to talk about that in their history, in their histories, but that is what it was. And they were partners. And I think the last time I can ever remember them working together was in 1990. Did you catch that? We got mosquitoes flying around in the dojo. But yeah, I mean, they did a big super show in 1990, and then WWF ended up working with Super World of Sport, Money Puro, in the mid-90s, and then they never really worked again together other than Hogan having a couple stints in the mid-90s, and, you know, I guess Liger came over and was allowed to work that NXT show with them. But it would be so cool to see them work with NXT just because of the talent that's there. But a couple things I have problems with that. One, technically speaking, it's the minor leagues of WWE. So you've got the second biggest company in the world working exclusively with their developmental brand. That's not really a good look, even though it would be awesome. Mm-hmm. Number two, it's not feasible because NXT is not its own entity. It's WWE. So you're talking about New Japan working with WWE, period. It's just not feasible. It just wouldn't happen. And I know you probably know that, 141 Bite, and most people listening. But it's just not realistic. And if it did, I don't know how that would even work out. Unless like we're in an era where it's Triple H's WWE and things like this are allowed to happen. Who knows?
Yeah.
With AEW though, I mean, the scenarios that are possible there, just the idea of them being able to work with AAA and working with Dragon Gate and OWE and all these different companies, that's very appealing to me. Plus, if the TV deal that AEW is going to get really comes to fruition, that sounds really cool. Mm-hmm. Plus all the talent that's there, like I think, and the freedom and the booking. Yeah, I think I would much rather prefer them work with AEW.
Yeah, you know, he kind of mentioned Kushida's success so far in NXT, and again, you know, NXT is one of those situations where you mentioned NXT is Triple H's baby, and Triple H, you know, is not afraid to recognize wrestling around the world. And he's using Kushida's accomplishments to help get him over.
Yeah.
So next question from Dom Homie 101. He says, how much of an impact would a current top NJPW star jumping ship to another Japanese company have on the business in Japan?
It depends on who the star is. I think that we both know, and we've talked about it on the show many times, that New Japan Pro Wrestling has great booking, and they have great star making, and they have experienced several exoduses now at this point and continue to grow and continue to be successful and continue to build up guys. So if somebody left, I wouldn't be too worried about it. However, with that being said, it does seem to be that we're at a precarious point right now. I don't think they're out of the woods yet from this past exodus of all the elite guys leaving. They're kind of just holding on. Not to say that business is in any way, you know, deterred, but in terms of their lineup of stars, they've done a great job elevating Jay White and Ospreay and guys like that, but I don't think they're as strong storyline-wise and character-wise as they have been in previous years. They're just kind of starting to revamp and rebuild right now. At this point right now, if a big star left, like an Okada or a Tanahashi or a Naito, it would be detrimental. I think they would survive it, and I think they could recoup, but
it'd be rough.
It'd be a big deal right now.
It'd be a roughie. I think, you know, all those big houses they're trying to draw this year, that would take a huge blow.
It'd be a much bigger deal than when Omega left. It would be a big deal. Or if Ibushi left.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting question there, Dom Homie. Our last question comes from our Twitter follower, KingDW510 at Twitter ain't shit on Twitter. He says, did you guys see the interview where Billy Gunn said his son is going to NJPW? I assume it's for the dojo, but haven't heard much else on it.
Yeah, I did see that, and I think that's interesting, and that could be something cool.
I think we talked about it.
I think we talked about it in the news.
Yeah, I think that kind of came out. Didn't that come out like after All In when he was in the Battle Royal?
It was a little while ago. I can't remember exactly. But, yeah, I haven't heard anything more about it. I don't know if he's going to be going to the LA dojo or to Japan, but I haven't heard much on it either. But I did hear that. That's my answer.
Yeah, and we'll keep posted up if we hear anything else. I haven't seen anything in the Observer or any, you know, credible source about that. So any update on that. So, yeah, we'll keep you updated if we hear anything else. But, yeah, it's either going to be LA Dojo or the actual Japan Dojo. So we'll see what happens there, which would be quite interesting considering Billy Gunn's in AEW now. You would think he would want him to go at AEW's training, whatever they're going to do.
Maybe he will be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a little while ago. I mean, things have changed. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, so that wraps it up with the questions, and we only have some few news items here because a lot of the news stuff related happened at Dontaku. Really quickly, Guerrillas of Destiny, they have been added to the Southern Showdown Tour in Australia. Ticket went on sale for those Australia shows that are happening June 29th in Melbourne and June 30th in Sydney. The Melbourne show is set to be a major show. The only thing that's being reported is from the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Melbourne sold out of all the good tickets and 60% of the building, which would be between 2,000 and 2,300 in the first minute, but wasn't sold out after a few days. They are expecting it to sell out. The Sydney is in a 2,200 seat building and sold more than 1,000 tickets at first, and they're hoping for that to do well also. And then G1 Climax in Dallas, they're still hoping for tickets to go well on that. And one half of Killer Elite Squad, Lance Archer, has been on the ground in Dallas promoting the show locally, giving out tickets and kind of spreading the word about the G1 Climax coming to Dallas.
I heard he was spitting water all over the fans to promote for the show, is what I heard, which isn't a great practice if you ask me. No, yeah, I heard something about this. Where are people seeing this? Is it just like on his Twitter?
Yeah, I saw it on his Twitter, him kind of going out, and he said, hit up his DMs to anybody who wants to contact him and help him get the word out about G1 Climax in Dallas. Plus, I've seen other sources kind of mention some of the stuff Lance has been doing to try and help increase the ticket sales in Dallas.
Well, congratulate, that's awesome. Hats off to Lance Archer. Pretty cool to hear that. That's a guy who wasn't even featured on the MSG show, and he's out there trying to better the company, and that's a pretty cool thing. So.
Yeah, a guy who could potentially not even be in the G1 tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, shout out to Lance on that.
Hopefully he's getting to cut them tickets.
Yeah.
Pay this man.
Yeah, so that's going to wrap things up for this week.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for all the questions this week. We had a ton of questions. Thank you for all the new all the new people that are interacting with us. We want to see this thing continue to grow. Rate us. Please review us. I know you're hearing us on the airwaves, and many of you hear us say it every week. Please just do it because it really actually does help us. We want to grow this
especially if you're using Apple Podcasts for your listening to your podcast. Hit us that 5-star rating and review on there. That really helps the algorithm, helps our podcast network get shown to more people.
We need snowflakes.
Yes, 5 snowflakes. If there were 6, I would tell you to go 6, but there's only 5. So give us that 5-star review. Help
6
us.
6 stars from the get-go, boy.
Help us get more over than we already are. So next week, we'll be back with our preview of the Best of Super Junior tournament, and we'll cover any news that breaks out in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. You can also follow us at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. You can also find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Reddit, I am the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can also email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com. Make sure you check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have One Nation Radio hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. On Tuesdays, of course, you can find us Keeping It Strong Style. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. Every other Wednesday, we have our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling. Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan. On Thursdays, sometimes Fridays, we have NXT, Then, Now, and Forever, hosted by James Boyd. And then on Saturday, we have All Things Elite with Floyd Johnson Jr., Amy, and Floyd's band of elite crew that he's building together on that show. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating and review. We will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.